everyone! Old school Pokemon here, back again with the PokeFlipz Live Season 3, Episode 1. Joined by my usual co-host, Catch 'em All Collectibles, Dan. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the premiere and this new setup we got going on. Definitely let us know in the comments below what you think of this.
I'm
How are we
watching,
doing today, Dan?
I'm doing well, but I'm anxiously watching on the other screen to see if I'm funneled into this live. Maybe we went a little bit early.
We did, because the premiere is still going on.
I think I didn't account for the 1 minute countdown that was at the front end. And I don't think there's any way to do away with that.
That's
so
what it is.
I'll have to factor that in. It looks like we just ended. Let's see if it pushes me over. One guy saying screen. We were early.
Oh, there we go.
It says up next in 5 seconds, PokeFlipz podcast. It looks like I'm being funneled in. Okay, I'm funneled in.
Nice.
We're live. Perfect. It worked out. Mr. Walrus, we appreciate you. I think we got our first member.
Look at that.
I called it the PokeFlippers. So welcome to the PokeFlippers, Mr. Walrus. I think Nick, you called it the PokeFlip Squad or something in the pre-recording.
I think I might have, yeah.
But yeah, new thing going on now. We've never been live off the bat with without a backlog of questions. Feel free to drop your questions as we go. I see people finding that join button. We really appreciate you. Brandon B, welcome to the PokeFlippers. Sky That One Guy, Brad G Cards. A lot of people finding that button. Thrifty confirming that she was funneled over from the premiere. So that'll be our plan moving ahead. We'll answer all the questions left on the prior live stream up front, and then in the subsequent stream, it'll be a premiere, hopefully 10 to 30 minutes tops, and then you'll be funneled into the live. And we'll always set the live to go at 1:15 p.m. So depending on how many questions we had beforehand, the premiere will start sometime between 12:45 and 1 or so.
And hopefully this will make it so that we can actually keep up with chat semi decently and not start off an hour behind chat.
Yeah.
So hopefully this will work out better.
I see Java joined. Let me make sure I don't miss any. Johto Jake joined.
And gifted.
Yeah, Java gifted 5, Skya gifted 5. We appreciate you guys. We do have to announce, before I forget, our special guest for next episode. If you want to go ahead with that, I'll let Nick take the honors.
Yeah, so next week we have, or 2 weeks from now, our next episode, we're going to be having a special guest, 2 special guests joining us. We've got DeGreen Chiz and Professor Oak joining us from the Slabs podcast. So we'll be able to have a little battle of the podcasts. So that'll be really fun. It's going to be a night stream, probably like 9 p.m. Eastern on, I forget the day. I think we're going to be doing it Tuesday, the 21st maybe, but we'll definitely schedule it ahead of time so you guys know. But that'll be fun. Looking forward to that one. Be fun to have both of them on the podcast with us.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to the Slabs collaboration with PokeFlipz podcast. I think that'll be a fun one, as they all are. But yeah, we appreciate all the memberships. I'll throw them all up on screen as they come. Professor Oak gifted 10. For whatever reason, I can't highlight the gifted subs. Oh, there we go. Now it just worked for some reason. But I lied. I guess I can highlight those. So we had Skya with 5, Java with 5, and then Oak with 10. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you all as always. As of right now, we have no question backlog unless I missed a couple. Let me go back up in the chat. I do see one from Skya.
We'll get one at the very beginning.
Yeah, we'll get into that, but we're hanging out for the next 3 hours and 10 minutes. So We don't have that awkward 45-minute backlog to build up. We were talking about it last night. What would happen is we would answer the questions from the prior episode, and then you guys would engage with us in chat, but we wouldn't see it until 45 minutes later. So our normal cycle would be to just answer the old questions, and then 45 minutes later we'd see what you guys were talking about when we were answering the questions originally. Hopefully we'll have a more like natural flow. So yeah, feel free to ask your questions in the chat, and hopefully we'll get to them within a few minutes, not 45 or an hour. So to start us off, we have Sky, that one guy. Hey, Dan and Nick. Question: how would you feel about me starting a similar podcast but for Yu-Gi-Oh? If you approve, do you have any tips? Also, software/recording tips. Thanks. Not that you need it, but I fully give you my blessing. I think everyone should start channels, and everyone should see if they like making content. I mean, not everyone will, but I've really enjoyed it, and the more content, the better. Nice thing about it is like content just exists there. You don't have to engage with it. If you don't like this podcast, like please don't watch. But the more people that make one, like I watch the Slab podcast, I watch the Paper Hands when they post, I watch there's a bunch of them out there, and I think it's great. So yeah, absolutely make it. Tips, I would say OBS has been awesome. We did a little bit of the StreamYard thing. StreamYard is nice in that it is intuitive, and it's all like in one ready-made package that's just like turnkey, kind of. You sign up for an account, and it's a turnkey solution. OBS is a little bit more, you've got to be semi-tech savvy. You've got to be willing to do a little bit of research and figure out how to do things, a little bit of troubleshooting here and there. But you can get the same features. Like right now, I'm in OBS. I'm highlighting comments just like StreamYard does. I'm not capped to 10 participants. There was that one post-Collecticon stream where I had like 12 people in there on screen in a Discord call. And there's no monthly fee. Like I'm not paying StreamYard for this. I'm not paying OBS. It's a free software. So main thing would be OBS, and absolutely go for it.
Yeah, I would say go for it. They're a lot of fun, so I would definitely say give it a shot if you're interested in that, and just give it a shot, and you'd be surprised at the number of people who come in and listen to you talk about whatever subject. I never thought we would get 1,000 subscribers on our podcast. I was initially, when we first started it, I was just wanting to do it because I like talking about Pokemon, and whoever wanted to listen could listen. I never had any expectations that we would have so many people interested in listening to us. So definitely give it a shot. I would definitely recommend it. As far as tips, get someone like Dan who knows how to use OBS. Makes it really nice for me because I don't have to worry about any of that.
Yeah, maybe skip your first two choices for podcast hosts and go right down to the third one because he probably knows how to use OBS.
The only other thing that I would add is just be consistent. So if you start out and you say you're going to do it once a month, make sure you do it once a month. If you say every other week, make sure you do it that way. Just stay consistent so that way, as you start to grow, people can anticipate when your next podcast is coming out, and don't start skipping weeks or just flat out ending it, because that'll disappoint people for sure. But yeah, no, if you do start one, definitely let us know. Be sure to check it out.
Kiwis said in the chat, is there a dolphin Pokemon would fit well as the mascot for the PokeFlipz? LOL. I actually, there probably is like a default emoji of a dolphin, I'm sure. But one of our emotes will have to come up with like a special dolphin that people can have, because that is definitely on brand for flippers.
I like it.
I'm just going through, putting all the memberships back up on screen, making sure I don't miss anyone. I've seen a few people mentioning it in chat. There have been, I don't know that memberships will continue to be gifted. If they are, I mean, we very much appreciate it. But you do need to enable the ability to receive a gifted membership. So I don't know how it's done exactly, but some people are saying that there's like a gift icon, that there's a present icon. If you're on Apple, it's probably more difficult because Apple just likes to be that way. But if you're on Android, if you're on PC, there should be a way to enable your ability to receive gifts. If you're seeing them being gifted and you're getting frustrated because you're not getting one, you might not be able to because you might not have enabled it yet.
Or it's just because nobody likes you.
Yeah. And that's another point too. Mr. Walrus did say in chat, like, it's not something, the people gifting it have no control over who gets them. So it's not like the people are gifting them are playing favorites and they don't like you or something. It's just it's the almighty YouTube algorithm that is not smiling down upon you. Yeah, emote limit definitely going to increase. We'll have new ones in. We'll cap out our limit wherever that's at for the next episode. I do see more questions, but I want to make sure I don't miss any scrolling down. Mr. Walrus with the 10 gifted. Mr. Walrus gifted Nick.
Thank,
you received one.
Emoji maker, me.
Nick's you're hanging out in chat on your old school Pokemon account, so you were gifted one actually. You received one of the gifted subscriptions.
Oh, I know. I'm a new member of the PokeFlippers.
Oh man, I'm only in here as PokeFlipz, so hopefully I'm not the recipient. That's funny. I didn't even notice that. Max says, could you grade each other with 4 subcategories? I mean, Nick's a black label, perfect 10 on all counts.
I think I would prefer CGC perfect 10. I'm not a big fan of BGS. So because you disrespected me like that, I'm going to give you a what was that? A BCCG 10. What they call that? It was like Gem Mint 10 or better.
Yeah.
Do you remember that grading company?
Yeah.
I think it was a subdivision of BGS.
I think BCCG, you could just buy your own grades. You could just pick whatever you wanted, and yeah, mint or better, or gem mint or better, or something.
Yep.
Oh, that's funny. So here's our next question. Presto asks, Nick, I'm wondering why you use holographic in your eBay titles instead of just holo. Your listings don't show up in my eBay searches when I type in holo looking for your listings.
I did not know that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I've always just used holographic, and really no reasoning.
How do you have the space or the time?
I have the extra characters. What was that?
I said, how do you have the space or the time?
No, I'll have to look into that though, because I didn't know it wouldn't come up. The other thing though is, I guess one person looks up holo, but how many people look up cards using like holo, the word holo or holographic? I always thought people would just search like the card name, number, stuff like that. So I would always think that like you would look up the card name or number, and then the holographic part would just be something that you saw as you were scrolling through everything. But I didn't know it wouldn't come up if you just typed holo. I'll have to look into that. One thing I did notice was for uncommons, I would always do UN-common, and that one it won't come up if you type in uncommon. So I got to go back and change those at some point.
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about more recently. I've had some discussions with eBay, like a growth manager, and they get into optimizing titles for like SEO, search engine optimization, basically. It's an interesting consideration because when I'm on the buying side, I like to, like, say I'm looking for Dark Dragonite, and Dark Dragonite's weird because let's do Dark Charizard. Number two out of 82, right? I believe.
Number 3.
Number 3. Yeah, maybe it is. Or no, is it 4?
No, it's 4.
Yeah, because Charizard is 4 in base and Rocket. I think it's also 4 in base too. But anyways, if I'm searching for Dark Charizard, from Rocket, I don't type hollow. I usually type 4 because I want number 4,
Yep.
the hollow one. No matter how you go about it, the risk you run is omitting certain things that could be better deals. So if I'm like as a buyer and I'm trying to get the absolute best bargain price, I might just search Dark Charizard PSA 10, because if you put Dark Charizard Team Rocket, some people don't put the set name in the title. So if you over specify, you won't find anyone that didn't put Team Rocket. Like, it kind of blows my mind. But when I'm listing, when I'm on the selling side, I want to catch every term. So I do PSA 10, Gem Mint, Dark Charizard, Team Rocket First Edition Hollow, 4 out of 82. But on the buying side, if you put all of that, you'll only find me maybe. And you'll lose the people that didn't put Team Rocket. You'll lose the people that didn't put Hollow. If you put holographic, you might only have one result come up, and it'll be Nick's, and you won't see mine, and you won't see James's, and you won't see Rusty's. You won't see a lot of people's. It actually is something that I think a lot of people don't consider too in depth. But on the buying side, you could be costing yourself a lot of money. If you search holographic and you go over to Nick's listing, which is $50 higher than mine, because I only say hollow. I mean, you got to be careful. You got to be careful on the selling side. You want to catch everything how people search. On the buying side, you don't want to over specify, because there might be 50 on the market, but if you put in one term too many, a lot of people, really mind blowing to me, they don't put in the number. Like, a lot of people don't put 4 into their Dark Charizard. So if you put 4 out of 82, or if you put 4, you might omit 20 of the 50 on the market. And of those, 5 of them might be the cheapest ones. So it really is like a very important thing to consider, whatever side you're on. Probably deserving of its own video at some point, though that's one of the videos that's like really deep into the weeds. It wouldn't perform well, but I think it would be very useful to some amount of people. I did a video a long time ago on how to search on eBay and use like the parentheses and use the and or functions and things like that. But yeah, I think that's a really interesting question. And another thing, getting more into like the specifics of the question, some people say holographic, some people say hollow, holofoil, foil, shiny. I mean, there's all different ways. Even in eBay's own item specifics, I've been trying to add more item specifics to a lot of my listings, because eBay says that it really helps the algorithm. It helps the search algorithm. They boost you more. I think eBay said something like the average listing in my categories uses 7 item specifics, and I was only using like 4.
7?
It's a lot. I forget what the number is. I have it somewhere, but the average, because grade is 1, grading company is 1, set is 1. There are a few that are required. Like, you need the set, you need the game. So Pokemon, Rocket, Team Rocket. But then like first edition, you can put hollow. There are multiple selections where for rarity, you can put hollow rare. And then for finish, you can put foil or holofoil or holograph. Like, there are multiple of these own terms in eBay's database. It kind of needs a bit of a cleanup. But the issue is there's millions of listings that would be affected if they removed or added in different terms. That question opens up an entire can of worms, as you can see. By our answers here.
Yeah.
But it is really interesting. So definitely consider those things when you're buying. Don't over specify. You want to specify because you don't want to have to wade through a million listings, but you don't want to over specify too much because you might knock off the low list. You might end up paying $500 when you could have paid $450 if you over specify and get rid of that cheapest listing.
Yeah. Yeah, the item specifics is something I need to work on, because I only do the required ones.
I do more and more lately.
It's just such a pain.
I feel like their new system has gotten better than it used to be. I remember when Cam, we were kind of having that back and forth between PokeFlipz and their lives and then my lives. You and Cam were on the new listing format, and I wasn't, and it was terrible. It was awful at the time. It's a lot better now. They've fixed a lot of things. For some reason, when you change the grade, the authenticating company oftentimes gets kicked out, and you have to put like PSA or CGC back in, depending on what you're listing. But a lot of the ones like foil, a lot of the ones like if you do common, uncommon, rare, a lot of those stay in. The big thing you need to be careful is that you don't want to go from listing a common Bulbasaur from base set first edition to listing like an Arcanine, which is uncommon. You don't want to wrongly specify any card. You don't want to call Arcanine a common, because then you'll just, and I don't know who filters by those things, because that's another consideration. If you start filtering by those on the search side, and you're going to filter out all of Nick's listings because he's not specifying any of that. So if you're searching for like a PSA 9 base first Bulbasaur and you specify common, you might see some of mine and you might not see some of mine, because I'm like in between adding it, but I haven't always. And you won't see any of Nick's, and you might see all of. So the ability to specify is good to wade through the millions of Pokemon listings. But if you do it too much, you run the risk of just costing yourself a lot of money.
Yeah.
Garen mentioned that they posted the question in the wrong video. Yeah, if anyone left any questions over on the premiere, that probably will be something we run into. Some amount of people will leave questions in the premiere or in the premiere like comments instead of here. I'll try to check both for a while. But ideally, like if you want to ask questions next episode, ask them here in the comments after this video is finalized. One thing that we did talk about last night, Nick, if you have questions for Josh or Oak, they will not be on pre-record with us. So just Nick and I will be pre-recording the questions from each episode. If you have any questions for our special guests in episodes moving ahead, ideally leave them. You can leave them in the comments still, and we'll just kind of save a couple. If any are relevant pertaining to one specific person, we can bring those in. But other than that, yeah, that's I think the pre-recording thing is nice. It's nicer when it's just us, but when we have guests, it gets a little more complex if you're asking a question targeted towards Josh or Oak. But we'll sort through it as we go through. Hopefully not too many growing pains. I was worried I might dump people into the YouTube void, but I successfully transitioned people from the premiere to the live, so that was a win.
Hats off to you. Yeah. Normally we don't get too many pre-recorded questions for guests, so I don't think that'll be too big of an issue. But we'll be able to figure that out relatively.
CC Republic asks, what is your current risk tolerance for buying and grading low dollar singles that more often than not grade well and sell for profit? What, if any, key factors go into that decision?
You want to go or you want me to start?
I can go. I'm doing it like 3 or 4 months late, but I'm doing it with the Scarlet Violet 1 promo. That doesn't really fall into the low dollar singles. I mean, that's like a $15 to $20 single. But my risk tolerance is fairly high, because one of the big things is that next time I'm going to try to do it like immediately so that I'm not so late and all that big, juicy, hot out of the gate, first to market margin is now gone. But one of the big things, especially if you're talking $1, $2, $5 singles, I love that your downside is fixed and known, and your upside it's not limitless, it's not infinite, but it's high. So if you're buying a card, there are a lot of cards in Pokemon and in non-Pokemon too. Sub $5 cards with a $15 grading fee sell for $100 if not more. If you're looking at Beckett Black Labels, I mean, you could make a $5 card with $15, $18 grading fees that sells for hundreds. So worst case scenario, and it's a bad one. I'm not trying to say that there's no downside, but the downside is known and fixed. If you buy a $5 single and you spend $15 putting it in plastic, the most you can lose is $20, right? That's your initial investment. Best case, so you can go down to zero. I mean, if that becomes worth nothing, which in the very short term, I think we are at zero. I mean, as close to zero as possible risk of slabs just going to zero overnight or in the next 6 months. But so your downside is fixed and known, and your upside can be very, very high. for every accidental binder ding card that you send that gets a 6 and you have to bulk out for $8 a slab or whatever to troll and toad or to a whatnot streamer, every 10 that you hit, at least now to date, you've made a lot of money. I mean, that SV1 promo was selling for over $100. Thousands of them, hundreds of them were selling for over $100, and they're still selling every day for $50, $60, $70. So much higher upside than your downside is, and my risk tolerance is fairly high just because of where I'm at in my business, my cash flow situation. If you're earlier on, and if your cash flow is a lot tighter, and your working capital is a lot lower, your risk tolerance is naturally going to be lower. But the main key factors that go into it is look at the cards, pre-grade them. What percent on 10s are you going to expect to get? If it's an ultra modern Japanese promo that historically they grade 80, 90, 95% PSA 10, I mean, do some pre-grading. Don't send blindly, but you're probably going to be in that vicinity. Start small, scale up from there. And liquidity, I mean, if it's got Pikachu, if it's got Charizard, if it's got Eevee or an evolution, liquidity will probably be there to some extent. Those are the main things I think about.
Yeah, biggest thing for me is I just on like those lower end singles where, like, for me it's always WotC, commons, uncommons. Right now 9s are getting back down in price to where a lot of them aren't worth grading, but 10s are still really expensive. I will be right back, actually. I gotta go answer the door.
I was looking through the chat to find the next question, so I wasn't even really listening that closely to Nick. But where were we again? So yeah, risk tolerance. I'll elaborate a bit further. I'm actually intending moving ahead. I think that a lot of people are solely PSA is the only play, BGS is the only play, CGC is the only play. With a card like SV1P, 001 SVP, next time one of those obvious plays comes out, I intend to buy 100 or hundreds, and I want to spread it around a little bit. I wanna chase the black label. I want to chase the CGC perfect, and I want to take like the not guaranteed, but the very high PSA 10 rate. So I actually bought 50 recently. I'm sending 20 to PSA, 15 to BGS, and 15 to CGC approximately. Some probably won't be gradable, so I'll sell those raw. But yeah, that's gonna be my play moving ahead on ones like that. Nick, if you wanna hop back in.
Yeah. So just got a nice little PSA return back, so that's exciting. Unfortunately, my new FedEx driver doesn't trust the neighborhood I live in, I guess, and won't just leave them at the door. But so for this one, like low end singles, for me, it's going to be WotC, first edition Shadowless, commons, uncommons, 9s. Really aren't worth the money that you're going to be spending to grade them, sell them, ship them, all that stuff. So you got to be more careful and spend more time looking at the card to see if it's going to get a 10. If it's going to get a 9, probably not submit it unless it's one of the more like starters, Pikachu, whatever. So yeah, just spend more time with the cards so that you can kind of get a better idea on what's going to be a 10 versus a 9. And then kind of just like knowing what the value of the card is going to be after it's graded. So like not grading stuff that you're going to only make $1, $2, whatever, after everything, and kind of focusing on the cards that you're going to make a little bit more money on. That would be the biggest thing for me, is to just kind of get to know the grading scale really well and be comfortable about knowing this one has a good shot at a 10, this one's going to be a 9, whatever. Obviously, you're not always going to be right about that. You might get a really easy grader, or you might get a really tough grader who just gives you 8s on everything. But that would be one thing I would add to that one.
Next question comes from Eric Fair. I work as a civil engineer and want to get into reselling cards full time. After doing the calculations, I'd have to sell 100 cards a week at $44 profit each to break even with my salary. How did you guys scale higher? I did not scale higher. I do not make, barring barring selling cards that have appreciated and kind of realizing long-term capital gains, I do not make, I mean, if you do the quick math on that, 4,400 a week, that's like 230, 200, that's $250,000 a year. I don't know if we're talking net, if we're talking gross. I don't make that right now, barring selling stuff that has appreciated massively from the past. If I made that much money, I would continue making that much money and not quit my job to do full-time Pokemon, honestly. I never, 10 years as a chemical engineer, I never made a six-figure salary. I was nearing it by the end, but yeah, I started making more on the side with cardboard than I was making in my primary job as a chemical engineer. But what's your cost of living where you are? Are you going to move somewhere? Like, there's so many considerations, and we can't answer that for anybody. How much money you need to get by? Can you move out of a big city and have a higher quality of life, not have to commute 2 hours each way to work? And way too many considerations to actually get into anything in depth. But yeah, I guess the simplest answer is not many people are making consistently $250,000 a year doing this. Very, very few. And I think I can speak for Nick going off of his annual video that I watched in January. Neither of us are making $250,000 a year consistently year over year, like replicable, just flips only. I mean, last year was a crazy year for me, but it's because I made a lot of money selling 3 cards that had appreciated, I mean, massively, just in like a capital gain type scenario. So that's not replicable. I can't just reach back and sell another number 1 Pikachu for nearly 6-figure net gain on one card. That's just not, I can't do that over and over. And I'm sure Nick probably has a lot of stuff in his collection or in his deep inventory. He could probably in 1 year make a lot of money if he sold a lot of his deep collection, long-term hold type pieces. But then the next year you can't resell what you've already sold. So the repeatability of that isn't there. What do you think on this one?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with you. I left my shipping job to do this full time, and it wasn't because of the money. If I wanted to make the most amount of money possible, I would have 100% stayed on the ship job. I took a nearly 50% pay cut, leaving the ship and doing Pokemon full time. So drastic pay cut. But I did it because I was getting sick of working on the ship. I love doing this. So for me, that was with what I'm making now doing Pokemon, I'm still able to live and I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So for me, it wasn't about the money whatsoever. It was more so just what I enjoy doing more working on the ship or doing Pokemon. I would think there's obviously people who make an absolute ton of money in collectibles. But I would say for the most part, like Mason Cardinal Gaming always says, people don't get into this to get rich. It's more so to make a living and because they really enjoy it. If you're looking to just kind of get rich, there's definitely better options out there. But if it's something that you're passionate about and you enjoy doing, you really can't beat working for yourself. There's some really big perks to that that you can't get working for another company. So even though you have to take a pay cut, there's also like I think like quality of life improves. So that's a consideration that I would take into account too.
Yeah, and this gets so deep into like your philosophy on life and what you want out of life, what your goals and aspirations are. And me, similar to Nick, I left a job that, although I make more today than I would today as a chemical engineer, doing only chemical engineering. My optimal way, if I was maximizing my life for money only, I would be a chemical engineer. And to be quite frank, I mean, because I think a lot of people in this industry and maybe some people watching right now double dip to some extent. I think there's a lot of people that are able to do a side Pokemon gig largely while they're at work at their normal day job. So they're getting a salary and they're making some side money on eBay as well. If I had done chemical engineering and this and only done the higher end of this, I could have made a lot more, but I wouldn't have had time for my family. I wouldn't have had the freedom to do being my own boss, and I would have been stuck in the corporate grind and stuck on this as a side hustle. I mean, I could have ground out 120 hours a week, and I'd be making a lot more money, but I'd be a lot less happy, and I'd probably just drop dead from burnout at like 40. So yeah, when I made the decision to leave, it was knowing that 10, 20 years down the line, I'd have a lower net worth than if I'd continued to do both. So you mentioned the whole break even with your salary. If you get down into the nuts and bolts of it too, if you actually do the math on it, I don't have to drive. I mean, my commute was short. I had a 20-minute commute, about 12 miles each way, 125 miles a week, 6,000 miles a year. There's a number for that. That costs some amount of money. I'm saving thousands of dollars a year in wear and tear on my vehicle and gas and all that stuff, and getting really in depth. And I don't lose that time of my life sitting in a car. But all these things need to be made. All these considerations need to be made if you're going to take the leap. But genuinely, like, unless you hate your job, unless I'm big in like the whole financial independence movement, and there's a lot of people out there who get to this point in their career where they're like, if I work this job for 5 more years, I can retire, saving 80% of their income, some massive number. It all comes down to like, how much do you value pleasure versus pain today versus delayed gratification and all that. Yeah, I think we've covered this one well enough. Oh, he says, I don't mind my job. I just prefer to deal with cards versus drawing lines all day and designing. You got to put a value on that. If you can make $250,000 a year drawing lines all day and designing, and you can only make $50K a year with cardboard, that you're a lot more happy. Is that happiness worth $200,000 a year? And we cannot answer that for you. We both faced that question ourselves. And we both took some amount of a pay cut to do this full time. And yeah, that's a very personal decision, though.
And then just the other thing is, it's not all that it's cracked up to be sometimes, for sure. Like I love it. Wouldn't change it for the world, but there's definitely days where working for someone else would be so much better. There's like just like any job. There's days that being your own boss is terrible, having to do everything and having everything rely on you. So you just gotta weigh the options and see what would be the right fit for you.
Yeah, for sure. Mr. Walrus says, if I'm flipping at a loss, am I a flipper or a flopper? So I'm not familiar with this company, but Sky That One Guy asks, what are your thoughts on the new grading company in Japan called ARS? They don't show the grade on the front of the slab. You have to look at the back. I kind of like them. Huge for Yu-Gi-Oh right now.
Yeah, I've never heard of them either. I don't not knowing anything about them, knowing what their cases look like, just kind of picturing like a PSA or CGC case with the label on the back. I don't think I would like that.
Yeah, people collect labels. You need that front and center. That's my kind of joking, kind of honest take. Like, people want to see and appreciate the art while they're getting fed to their brain like this is a 10 out of 10. They want to see both those at once. They don't want to have to especially if it's a weak 10, because then you put 10 on the back and you can see that whitened corner, you can see that rolled edge, and it's like the 10 is there, but I can see that it shouldn't be. So it makes it too immediate for you to know that it's a weak grade too.
There's another company. Josh was talking about them for a bit in one of his PWCC lives that puts the label on the bottom of the card, and even that I wasn't a big fan of.
I saw that. Yeah, it's a weird feel. It's kind of arbitrary, right? Like, we're used to PSA and BGS and CGC who all do it on the top. 30
Yep.
years ago, had PSA started with it on the bottom, we'd think that some new company with putting it at the top was weird. So
That is
that's
true. That is
just
true.
that's just the way that goes. But I do want to shout out Lord Pokesmoke. Welcome to the membership. Welcome to the PokeFlippers. And Badly Super mentions that auctions should automatically charge the highest bidder's payment on file. Is there a way to do that? Unfortunately, there's not. One great thing about sending offers, because I've been offering on a bunch of like different promos and just different things I'm buying on eBay. There's times where one thing I used to do is I'd send out offers on like 50 different items or 50 different lots, collections in a given night. And then the next day, some amount would accept and I'd go and pay. And then the next day, some amount would accept and I'd have to go and pay in multiple waves. One nice thing now on eBay, it doesn't always happen, but a lot of times it does. Now, though, when I send an offer, usually, I send an offer and it says, if they accept this, you will automatically be charged. As a buyer, I love it because now I don't have to come back a day later, maybe 36 hours later, 48 hours later, realize that they accepted it and then pay it later. I just commit to pay up front and then it charges when they accept it. As a seller, obviously, I love it because I just have less unpaid items. So yeah, I wish they would implement it. I wish that people canceling bids, retracting bids, non-paying for items, I wish that they would charge you a 5% cancellation fee or a 10% cancellation fee. I think that it would do amazing things for having buyer and bidder accountability. And I think that someone like James, who was in the chat earlier, I don't know if he's still here, imagine if his 7% non-pay rate for his consignments. Imagine if that next week, 7% of people who didn't pay, they got hit with a 5% or a 10%. Say eBay gives you a quarter of it. eBay keeps most of it, but they give you some of it too. So they pay you when you have to go through the extra labor, the extra effort of relisting an item. How low do you think that 7% would go to? I bet it would go to 0.7 or less. I bet it would decrease it by more than 90%. So I don't think they ever will, though. That said, I don't think they ever will because buyer accountability would make people leave the platform. And they don't want buyers to leave the platform, and they know that sellers are a bit more, I mean, there are other options, but I think that they know that sellers are a bit more stuck in a way.
Yeah. eBay definitely knows that that sellers are stuck, and there's no other better option out there. But yeah, I wish the same. I love how they started adding that to the offers, but it's not for everyone. I don't know.
It's weird, yeah.
I don't know what like what's the factor on like what people it pops up for, what people it doesn't pop up for. I'm not sure on that, but I love that new feature. With people sending offers and me accepting them, I would have people not pay every once in a while. It was a very rare request, though. So it was never really a big issue. But now that the payment is automatic, it is nice. I wish they would do that to auctions. I don't think it'll ever happen. The biggest thing for me is like if the auction ends and they request to cancel it right away because they have an hour to request to cancel it. You can decline their request, but then after you wait the 4 days, you can't report them as a non-paying buyer. So there's really no reason to decline the request. I don't like that. Auctions in general just are more aggravating than buy it nows, but they've also been doing good lately. So one of those things where you just have to live with it, unfortunately.
Yeah, cost of doing business, I guess. We can dream about eBay holding them accountable, but it probably won't happen. At least with offers, though. Offers are a step, so who knows? Maybe one day we do get it. Garen M comes in. Rookie question again. Try not to laugh too hard. Never posted or shipped a slab. Is printing the label for a bubble mailer off of eBay the same process as printing a label for a standard envelope? Yeah, you just go into your awaiting shipment, and then if you want to do a packing slip, if you want to print a pick list, all those options are there. But print a shipping label, if you've already pre-filled in your item when you made the listing, if you've already pre-filled how many ounces it is, what size the package is, and I would recommend you do. I have every PSA slab is like 2 ounces, a 4x6 padded envelope, first class. All those things are pre-filled. So when I go to purchase the label, it's already defaulted to 4x6. It's already defaulted to 2 ounces. I just buy the first class postage depending on where they are. It's $4 ish, and then I just print and go, and never feel like there's no such thing as a stupid question. So always feel free to ask any questions that you have. Don't feel like it's too simplistic. Don't feel like it's too much of a rookie question. We're here to help.
Yeah. Yeah, you covered that one. The only thing I would add is I don't know if you're printing them with your regular printer. If you're printing everything with like your regular printer, that does work. You can get like those label sheets and print them with your regular printer. If you're starting to sell more, I would definitely look into a thermal printer. That is one thing that's like on the top of your list when you're selling on eBay. That's definitely one of the best purchases you can make.
Sangoanda. Don't know if I'm saying that right, but I gave it a shot. I've definitely seen that name around, so I've probably said it 5 different ways. What set will follow Evolving Skies price-wise? So Nick, look, you go first here. Look into your crystal ball. Easy one. Which one hits 350 next?
Well, just judging by the pricing that we're seeing now, it'll be Brilliant Stars.
Isn't
Who
that one
knows
confirmed
when
reprint
that'll
though?
happen? How long it'll take for that to happen? What was that?
Isn't that one confirmed reprint or semi-confirmed? I feel like I've heard rumblings that Brilliant Stars is one that's going to be reprinted.
I don't think anyone knows yet. I wouldn't believe anything.
Someone knows, but
Um,
no one on PokeTube knows.
yeah, exactly. Um, More seriously, complete speculation. I like Fusion Strike and Chilling Reign the best out of this kind of late era Sword and Shield. I would go with those two personally, where they're relatively cheap right now. They're both really good sets. I think Fusion Strike specifically is definitely more underrated than even like Chilling Reign, because a lot of people talk about Chilling Reign now. Fusion Strike, not a lot of people talk about that. You got some really good cards in Fusion Strike, so I would go with that one. But if we're just talking like what's going to be the next box that hits Evolving Skies pricing right now, I think Brilliant Stars.
I think
But
Mr.
again,
Walrus.
that could be 10 years from now.
I think Mr. Walrus might have it. Isn't Sword and Shield base already like $200?
Yeah,
I
but
feel
that's
like,
a terrible set.
but
Nobody likes Sword and Shield base.
it's probably not gonna be reprinted though. It's much less likely to be
Yeah.
reprinted. So, and I don't know if that's an appropriate answer given the nature of the question. I guess I don't know fully in which way it was asked. What set will follow Evolving Skies price wise? You could make an argument that Sword and Shield base, if it were to hit 300, it didn't follow Evolving Skies price wise because it didn't do it with the same speed. It didn't do it in the same manner. And I don't know if that's the way that Sangowanda's asking it exactly. But in any case, I have no idea. All I know is I have what I have today. I'm slow selling all my modern boxes into the market. I have one Brilliant Stars box left. I have 0 Evolving Skies boxes left. I hope they get reprinted, but if they don't, I'm not going to go back and chase them. Sword and Shield base, I probably have a case-ish left. Not much more, probably not much less though either. I don't try to get hung up on these crystal ball type questions. I just, yeah, I take my allocations from my distributor at wholesale cost out of the gate. There are the weird situations where restocks, whether they're reprints or not, I'm not sure, but I can get small allocations of Fusion Strike at 110 or Brilliant Stars at 150 on occasion. But other than that, yeah, I'm not thinking too much about those kinds of crystal ball questions because I don't have good information. I'm doing a lot of guesswork. I'm just going to work where I have good information.
Mm-hmm.
Squeaks mentioned with grades on the back, I would need to do back scans. For that reason, I'm out. Yeah, for sure. Zach's Hockey Box says or asks, what do you guys do if an eBay buyer buys a card, pays, then messages about looking it over and having questions about the card, like slate whitening on card that's a 10? These are the worst. If they've already bought and paid, honestly, and this is probably kind of a petty answer, I print the label, ship, and then I see their message later. Oh, it's already in the mail. You can look at it when you get it in hand. It's just the wrong way to go about it. I have it right in my listing description. I have it right in my default description. If you have questions, you ask those first. You do not buy and then ask questions. You do not, because what they're doing functionally, they're holding your item hostage. Especially, I've seen it happen where I list an item at or below last sold. It's something that I just want to move quickly. Say last sold's 520, low list is 600. I might list it at 500 just to move it. Well, they know that it's a good price, so they want to snag it. They know that eBay is very buyer centered, so they'll buy it. They'll commit to buying it, remove it from the market so nobody else can buy it, and then they'll ask 20 questions. Can you send me a video? Can you do this? Can you do that? That's not how it works. I'm gonna relist it. I'm gonna cancel your listing. There's multiple things you can do. One, you can ship it. Two, you can cancel it and say buy the item or don't buy the item. Or you can answer their questions, and then if some of the answers are wrong, you go back and forth with them 5 times. They ultimately cancel with no detriment to them. They've just wasted your time, and they get off scot-free, and you've done all that extra work. So it's very annoying. Those are my thoughts around it. What do you do?
I liked how you mentioned that you print the label and answer them after you drop it off at the post office. I've definitely done that before myself too.
Yes. Yes.
You're definitely not alone there. But yeah, those types of buyers are the absolute worst. I don't like I'll respond to them either like I've done that like Dan said, or I just say I already have a front and back picture. Please look at that. I say you could use the zoom function if you want to get like a more detailed view. I try and be nice about it, but at the same time it's like I'm not taking any more pictures for you. Yeah. It's one of those things where you got to be, whenever someone messages you on eBay, you gotta be nice, professional, and all that fun stuff. But at the same time, you don't want to be wasting your time. So just kind of nicely respond back to them, saying no.
It's always case by case. It's always item by item. If it's a super niche item that you're lucky to have found a buyer for, and they really paid up for it, maybe you do bend over a little further backwards, and maybe you do take the next step to like really try to get that sale closed out. But if it's a super liquid item that you know that you can relist for $20 more and someone's just going to buy it, or relist it for the same price and it's going to be sold, you do less and less relative, like depending on the card. If it's a great customer though that's bought $50K with you over the past 5 years, like it's always going to be case by case. There's never a universal answer. These are just some of the answers. Another thing too, depending on how their tone, depending on how they word it, depending on their initial reply, their response to my reply, I might just block them too. Because generally speaking, having sold on eBay tens of thousands of items, I think I have like 60,000 items sold over the past 18 years. Buyers,
not even 100,000 rookie numbers over there.
Buyers who message you are more likely, everything else equal, buyers who message you are more likely to be problems than buyers who don't. Every week, every year, 95+% of my orders, I do not hear from the person. I do not talk with or interact with them. They click buy, they pay, I ship, they may or may not leave feedback. I don't even care. Those are the perfect buyers, and there are millions of them. And just fact of the matter is, ones who message are more likely to be problems than ones who don't. So depending on how it's worded, depending on what's going on, like I might just block them, cancel it, and move on. That's another option too.
Yeah, it definitely depends, like you said, case by case, and whether or not it's more expensive, less expensive. 99-cent singles never happens.
Yeah. Can you send me a video of that in 3 different lights on different background colors? That one guy goes further to say on ARS grading, they also have their label on the bottom. So maybe that's what Josh was talking about. It definitely highlights the card and not the label. It's interesting, very popular in Japan since it's their first grading company there.
Interesting.
Zard Lurkins liking your new haircut.
I do think there's potential for a grading company international. In the US, I can't see it happening.
Oh, here's a good emote suggestion. Can we get Nick as the caterpillar from A Bug's Life as an emote? Absolutely.
I will see if I can bust out my Canva skills and make something like that. I think that would be funny.
That'll have to happen. Shiny Typhoon 96 says, "Where did you guys buy your graded card monster boxes at?" Tuned in at work today. So the monster boxes generally are the 3,000 or 5,000 count big cardboard. Some are 4-row, 5-row, whatever they may be. Those are for raw cards. The monster boxes. If you're talking about graded card, I'm assuming you're meaning the cardboard Ultra Pro ones. They're actually called a graded card shoebox. If you're not talking about that, maybe you're talking about the Zion cases. Like I have a Zion case. But yeah, I guess there's multiple things you could be referring to. But Zion cases, if you're talking about like the big handheld ones that people bring to conventions, if you're talking about the cardboard ones for graded cards, you're probably talking about the 2-row graded card. I think they're BCW shoeboxes. I buy those from, I buy the Zion ones on the graded card website, and I buy the cardboard ones from distribution. Though they do have them on eBay. I will say shipping is expensive. If you're buying one, they're like $15 or $20. If you're buying one, like I feel like you might as well team up with a couple friends that are local to you, buy a bundle, and you're gonna get them for like a quarter of the price, unit price, if not 10% of the unit price buying a bundle. Maybe your local game store might have them too. I know that some of my local game stores I haven't been to in a long time, but they used to have a lot of supplies like that. That way you're not getting wrecked on shipping. But I'm assuming you get yours right from your distributors too, right? By the bundle.
Yep. I was gonna say that about check your if you have any local game stores around you, check them out. That's what I used to do back when I was first starting out, and I only needed like 1 or 2 of the 5-row boxes. I would just buy them from my local game store because it was with the shipping. It was a lot cheaper just to buy it there than it was to buy on eBay and have them ship it and all that stuff. So that would be my first suggestion if you're just looking for 1 or 2 of them.
Yeah. They mentioned in the live chat too. They mentioned they were talking about the graded card shoe boxes. I believe they're bundles of 25.
Yep. Yeah, 25.
Sorry, I cut you off. Were you just gonna say that, or were you saying something else?
No, I was just gonna say that.
So next question comes from Elite RD. Glad I could finally make a live PokeFlipz. I know you both have mentioned holding back cases. Do you do the same for modern chaser slabs? If you do, how many do you hold back? I don't hold back any modern slabs. At least at this time. I guess the only exception would be like my PSA 10 Griddle Greaser Pete and my PSA 10 Dan. Those are in my long-term investment portfolio. But other than that, when I grade like 200 Sword Shield 50s, when I grade 200 SM210s, when I'm grading 50 of these Scarlet Violet 1s, the short to medium term trajectory, if not like the forever trajectory of most of those slabs, is in one direction and it's known. So my strategy is to just get rid of them as fast as possible. I can't really think of any exceptions for that. I don't really speculate. Obviously, there are some cards that go up and down and all around. Look at Moonbryon. When that one comes back, when my Moonbryon comes back, maybe that'll be one that I hold more as like a meme or whatever. But no, like if I'm grading mass quantity of any modern slab, it is to be immediately sold on the market.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Grading, buying collections, it always ends up right back on eBay, and sold. But with booster boxes, I have been keeping 2 cases of each and just sending those back. But aside from that, that's about it for me. Any singles, graded cards just get immediately listed on eBay.
Max paper hands. Mr. Walrus wants to know if you got any One Piece.
I did not, unfortunately. I heard we were actually talking about this last night. I heard Dan talking about it in his live yesterday, and that was the first time I had I had heard like the name One Piece before, but that was kind of the first time I heard how expensive it was. So
Yeah,
that'll be something I keep my eye on in the future if any of my distributors have it. I did outside of Pokemon, I am going to start getting into Cryptic. I got 30 boxes of their Wave 2 Genesis, which actually comes out the same day Scarlet and Violet comes out, and I'm planning on opening those and selling singles. See how that goes on eBay. So we'll see how that goes.
are you gonna grade as well?
Yeah. Any of them? I gotta look into it because right now I don't know anything about Cryptic, like the rarities, what cards are good. So I gotta look into that. But I'll probably grade some of them too. Some of the better chase cards from the set. And then do the singles. We'll see how it goes. I completely off topic, but I broke down the world collection, or not the world collection. The world theme
World
decks.
champion. Yep.
Yeah, the world championship decks that came out. And those singles have been doing really, really well on. So it's kind of getting me to start thinking, should I start listing modern Pokemon singles back on eBay again? I don't know. It's tough because selling
They're all
singles
over
for
the
99
place.
cents is so much better than selling singles for 5 cents a piece.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, you're crazy. Um, especially with the eBay standard envelope, right? Um,
Yeah.
I did get into One Piece. I actually followed the financial advice from my some of my patrons in Discord. So I think it was Ray primarily was the one pumping it. Ray was pumping it in the paywall Discord. These paywall Discords with all their financial advice and investing advice. I heard a lot of people talking about it. I knew there was a bit of a bit of something going on there. So I reached out to my distributor. I must have pre-ordered it a few months back, at least a few months back. But I had 24 boxes, 2 cases of Paramount War, and the wholesale price is low. Honestly, I think the retail is 100, and I was getting them for in the 60s somewhere. So I got 2 cases for like 1,500, and I just sold a case for 2K like net. So reorders were just due this week, I think, for the next set that comes out in the fall. I don't think I'm gonna ever open it. I'm just going to utilize my long-standing wholesale account, and I'm just gonna pick up whatever allocation I can while it's hot, and just turn it into the market. That's where I'm at with One Piece. I don't think I'm gonna get into doing singles or grading, but yeah, it's interesting and a bit scary with Lorcana coming out and with One Piece doing what it's doing, and you're getting into Cryptic and I do MetaZoo, and there's so many card games out there now. It'll be interesting to see the landscape in 2 to 5 years.
Yeah. You said you had to order your the next One Piece set already?
Nick's logging in right now.
I was looking to see if they had any of the. It doesn't look like Southern Hobby has any boxes.
Let me look. I think it was due. I got called by my rep like Tuesday, both for my next order being due and my current order shipping, and then it came yesterday. I forget when the exact due date was. Orders due 3-9, so like today, I think. So when we get off PokeFlipz, maybe log into your accounts and see. I
just checked. I don't. It doesn't look like they have any, unless it's like brick and mortar and I can't see it. But
it shouldn't be brick and mortar because I'm able to get it. I'm able to get it, so it must not be brick and mortar. But Kingdoms of Intrigue.
He's just said only GTS and Alliance carry it. He thinks.
Okay. But yeah, there's our One Piece talk for the day. It's like I said, it's great. I love that people are having a good time, loving all these cards, but it just feels crazy for something at release to be 3x. And if it's all players and collectors and people who aren't investing, caring for future value, it's more sustainable and it's more fine. But if it's people thinking that they're buying these boxes at quadruple retail out of the gate and thinking they're going to be 4xing and 10xing from there, that's where it gets a little less sustainable, a little more bubbly feeling. And I don't know enough about One Piece to comment on whether I think it's what way or the other. Mr. Walrus says, "Can we get?" Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I would think while you were looking for the next question, I would think it's more organic than like Lorcana is gonna be, because at least One Piece has been around for a little while and it's kind of getting a resurgence now. Who knows though? I don't know much about it.
I have no idea. Yeah. Mr. Walrus wants to know if we can get PokeFlipz specials where you do an extra pod and do something cool. I think I like where we're at with this. If we try to do too much more, you see the way Nick handles his own YouTube channel. If we try to do too much more, Nick's just going to abandon us. I don't want to rock the boat. Right now, 2 years. 2 years straight, I've had Nick 52 episodes. We haven't missed a beat. If we start adding in special bonus episodes, this, that, I just worry that it's going to be like the beginning of the end. So I'm leaning towards not rocking the boat personally. But Mr. Walrus, if you have specific requests, maybe we can come up with something. I think we do have some exciting guests in the works. Starting off with the Green Shiz and Professor Oak next episode.
Yeah, we thought about doing every week, but then we were thinking of like doing once a week or every other week. But then we both agreed, like, if we did once a week, we would want to cut the time down. So it wouldn't be 4 hours every single week. It would be like 2 hours every single week or 4 hours every other week. And I think I do like the every other week better too. So for now, that's all you're getting from us, Mr. Walrus. Hate to say it.
It's a lot more sustainable because occasionally we'll have to shift one a little bit for, like, obviously if Christmas ever lands on one day, we're going to push it. We might push it a week. We might push it one way or the other, a week or a few days at least. You have more freedom to move things without missing like a whole episode. If and when one lands near a release week that's also a Collecticon week or whatever, you can just have more freedom to not miss an entire episode. The more you add in between, just the more likely you're going to start missing. once you miss one, it's easier to miss the next one and the next one. And there's a lot to be said for consistency, I think. I like our consistency here, always hitting our uploads and just being dependable, being there. We're always going to be here for you. But if we try expanding, doing too much with it, then it might just get unsustainable. Even with the 99-cent memberships, this isn't like a massive part of our bottom line for either of our businesses. But I very much enjoy and value the time and energy and effort that gets put into this and what I get out of it. Even though it's not financial, I'm having a good time and hanging out with Nick and all you guys, and it's definitely worthwhile. But weekly would just be a lot, and adding too much would be too much. Zach's Hockey Box did the same thing. Yeah, told him it was already packaged and he can check it when he gets it. Awesome. uh, uh, here we go. Catch 'em All TV says, I've been buying Wada Switch Pokemon games for $190. Do you think it would be cheaper to buy the games and grade them myself? You want to take that one first?
Yeah. I would say probably, but you could also run the risk of something happening where like you buy something, unless like you're going to Target or something and you're able to like look at a few copies and pick out a good one. If you're buying it online, something could something could happen in shipping where it gets a little damage or something. So I would say you're probably better off buying it raw, grading it. But then again, if you're someone with like limited time, you're probably just better off having the bird in the hand type of thing. You're just able to buy the game and be done with it. Really just depends on if you have the time. I would say buy them raw, grade them, do it that way. If you don't have as much time, then buy the graded copy.
I don't know anything about grading video games. I have no idea what it costs. I don't even know what Switch games cost. They're like 50 or 60.
Yeah, they're like $50, 50, 60 bucks.
Isn't video game grading like 40? Or maybe it's cheaper than that. I would say just do the math. I don't know.
I thought. Go ahead.
I would heavily caution. I see Mr. Waller saying don't buy modern graded games, period. I would heavily caution what you're buying. These games are printed in the millions, if not tens of millions. Are you buying 9.4s, 9.6s, 9.8s, A pluses, A plus plus? It's tough because the lower grades will be like every copy could hit that grade. Obviously, a lot of them are opened and consumed, played, but at the end of the day, like in 10 years, 20 years, is anyone going to care about these things? Mass produced comes down to like almost the modern versus vintage debate if you look at cards too. But like, why are you buying these? Are you buying it because you have $190 and you'd rather have this shiny encased in plastic thing to look at on your shelf and you enjoy it and you don't care about the future value? If so, and if you make $250,000 a year as an engineer and you have the money and you're only doing it once or twice a year with every game release and you don't want to open an account and grade yourself, it's reasonable. There are reasonable scenarios where someone is a consumer of that item. I just think the main things that would make you not, one, if you have the time and knowledge to do it yourself, just do it yourself for cheaper. Two, if you're doing it for future value considerations, I'm not going to say don't do it, because I don't know what could happen, but I strongly think that would not be a good investment. So I would just heavily caution you if that's the case. So I don't know you, I don't know your finances, I don't know what your goals are with it, but those are just the things that I guess I want to say. Like I understand where Mr. Walrus is coming from, but I think that's a little bit too black or white, right? Like it's all a spectrum. It's all in between. If you have the money and you love the item and you have millions of dollars, like no one can tell you not to spend $190 of your own money on something you enjoy. I've gone out to dinners where I've spent $190 for my wife and myself to go eat a fancy steak dinner when we could have just made it at home for 25 or $30. So like, who am I to say what you should or shouldn't buy? But if you're buying it for 190, thinking you're gonna retire off selling it for 50K, that's where I'd start cautioning you heavily.
Yeah, yeah.
Zard Lurking 92. I appreciate the big question in bold with the stop signs because that makes it very easy to find. If everyone could use that question format, I will never miss your question. I really actually like that. If you could open one vintage booster box live on your channel, what would it be? I have here behind me a Case Fresh Base Unlimited booster box that I bought at the end of Collecticon Orlando. If that had a first edition stamp on it, and if that was the English first edition limited printing, that is the box. Not because it's the most expensive box, not because any of the monetary reasons, because it's the only English box I didn't open. That's why. If I could do it, money aside, all those things aside, I really would love to open base set first edition to complete my goal of opening every like English set. That's the only one I missed. What about you?
A similar answer to you. I would be shadowless base. That would be my choice right there. Gotta stick with the favorite set. So that was an easy one for me.
I did actually open a shadowless box. My shadowless box that I opened, it was several years ago. It was a couple grand at the time. I know there's one now in a similar condition. I know ENA has one for like 70K. It's an open box,
Yep.
but it's all 36 packs are with it. I bought it in that state. It was 35 packs actually. So I didn't break the seal on the shadowless box I opened. Someone else broke the seal. They opened a light to verify its contents, and I bought 35 packs with all 12 heavies intact. I bought that years ago. So when I did my whole journey of like opening every booster box, there was a box or two where I did kind of like break the rules a little bit, and I didn't like break the seal, the shrink wrap on the box myself, but it was my own goal, so I was allowed to set the rules for how I accomplished my goal, right?
Exactly. I would say that counts.
Garen M has a follow-up question about bubble mailer labels. I don't have sticky labels yet. Is printing on regular paper and using shipping tape to stick it to the mailer an okay practice for now, or is it a no-no? Do not cover the barcode. That is the only no-no. Make sure you cover it very well. If you cover the barcode, a lot of the automated scans won't pick up. If you take it to your post office, they'll try to scan it and it likely won't. They'll have to type it in manually and they just won't be happy with you. So definitely don't cover the barcode, but that's fine. I would strongly suggest looking into thermal printers if you're going to be doing this with any kind of regularity, but at a minimum, go on Amazon, go on eBay. You can buy them like just 8.5 by 11. What do they call them? Just sticker sheets or whatever. You can buy a lot of them that are split in like two. So it'll be two labels. You can print on one. I did that for a long time. I had a laser printer with adhesive sticker printing paper. And I would still a lot of times put a piece of tape over that to secure it, to keep it from coming off. Some of the adhesive, depending on the brand you get, the adhesive isn't amazing on all of them. But yeah, that's perfectly fine to do it on paper. You're just going to be using a lot more tape. It's more cost effective to just buy the adhesive labels, I think.
Yeah, you covered that one. You covered that one well.
And
Retro
did
how
it.
I started too.
Yeah, Retro mentioned it in chat too. A label printer will change your life. But honestly, a lot of the label printers are a couple $100. And if you're only doing 10 items a year, it probably will never make sense to get a label printer. Buy a pack of 50 of the adhesive labels and you'll be set for like a decade. Or 5 years, I guess. Max says, are you open about collecting, working with Pokemon as an adult to everyone, or do you sometimes try to hide it? I like to not bring it up to strangers. I don't go out of my way to hide it in any way. I guess the one thing, it was a year ago now. It's crazy to think that it was a year ago now, but I had some old coworkers kind of sarcastically message me a congratulations on my anniversary, 11-year anniversary of working at my old company, because I had it on my LinkedIn profile still. When I went to update my LinkedIn, basically what I did was I put my end date for my old job in my LinkedIn, and I didn't update like my new one. I'm like, I don't know what I would put. I don't know that I really need an updated LinkedIn in this industry that I'm in now. So I just terminated my employment at my last one. It says 10 years I worked at where I was, chemical engineer, and it just says nothing now. So if you looked at my LinkedIn, you would think I'm just jobless. But other than that, like friends and family all know if and when there's been some interactions with like a wife's coworker, they'll just be like, "Oh, what do you do?" Sometimes I stumble a little bit over describing what I do, but it's not out of embarrassment. It's not out of like trying to hide it. It's just like I think the thing I've settled on is I sell Pokemon cards on eBay. That's the most, and I do a little bit more than that. I have the YouTube channels, and I don't call myself a PokeTuber. I don't call myself an influencer or anything like that. Primarily what I do is selling Pokemon cards on eBay. So I start there. If they inquire deeper, I take it case by case like anything else. Some people, if they seem interested, oh, I have Pokemon cards from when I was younger. Oh, my kid has Pokemon cards from when they were younger, whatever. I'll go as deep as they want to go with it, I guess. But yeah, it's not something I like consciously try to hide because I'm ashamed or because I'm worried that they'll pick on me or anything like that. To some extent, there is a little bit of consideration as far as like having inventory and where it's stored, and I've gotten into the whole thing before about all the higher end things. You see what's here, what's behind me. All the higher end things are in like an actual bank vault, and there is some concern or consideration for that aspect of it, like the security aspect. But other than that, there's no withholding anything. You?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I pretty much tell everyone who asks, sell Pokemon cards on eBay. And yeah, I used to be more sensitive, I guess, about saying that. Back in like before Pokemon Go, when Pokemon wasn't cool. I wouldn't tell as many people, like close friends, family, they all knew. But random other people, I wouldn't get into it. But now that Pokemon's cool again, and it's an actual like livable job for me, I don't have any issues telling people. And usually it brings like a good conversation. So like if you just meet someone, have nothing in common, that's usually a good way to start a conversation with them, because usually they'll have questions about it. They'll start telling you about all their cards that are probably worth like $1 million according to them.
Yeah. Yeah, and I remember the time I quit. I remember when I was going to tell my parents, I was a little, I don't even know how to word it, how to describe it, but when I was telling my parents like, hey, I'm your son that you were proud of having gone to college and getting his engineering degree and getting a job, and I got my master's degree like a year before I put in my 2-week notice. So I went through all that, and I've been an engineer for a decade, and it probably sounds a lot more impressive for my parents among their friend group to say, oh yeah, my son's a chemical engineer at insert local company here, who like everyone knows. Most people in my community within a couple hour drive know of the company I work for, used to work for. So for them to go from saying my son's a chemical engineer at here to now he sells Pokemon cards on eBay. Actually, I had that conversation with my parents. I'm like, do you guys feel weird about it? Have you ever had weird interactions? And I'm super open with my parents. I've always been, and financially and all that stuff. So they know, like my dad knows. I always loved math. I always loved numbers. I knew my parents' finances, my household finances, going way back to when I was like 10, because I just loved math and numbers. And so he knows that I'm making more than I was as a chemical engineer. some amount of people I think have had some reaction. Oh, your son, he's not an engineer. He sells Pokemon cards now. And it's like, I think he feels weird saying, oh, well, he makes more money than he used to doing that. And I'm like, if you feel like you need to tell people that, if you want to tell people that, you can, but I don't think you should feel like you have to. And I hope you don't have any friends who you would feel like you need to. But yeah, I talked to my parents about that weird interaction before. And it's when people worry about like what other people do, it's just so weird. Every time I say that word now, I laugh because I think back to that one stream where I said weird like 50 times. But it's like, it's my life. It's what I choose to do, and it makes me happy. And it's where, yeah, for anyone to judge people based on their hobbies, their job, their whatever it is, it's like, it's just really weird. So hopefully, Max, I don't know where the question came from. I know you mentioned you don't like to bring it up to strangers. I don't like come out every time I step into a room, say, hey, I'm a full-time Pokemon guy. But like, if I'm wearing a Pokemon shirt and someone said, oh, hey, why are you wearing that? You like Pokemon, you collect the cards, you play Pokemon Go. I might get into it, I might not, but I'm never like hiding it out of shame. And I hope nobody is. I hope nobody feels like they have to hide who they are or what they enjoy. Because that sucks if anyone feels like they have to.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Went on a big a big ranty type thing there with that one.
Now you're gonna be falling behind. This whole premiere thing's not gonna work out because now we get a half-hour long Dan rants.
Grimer Collect says, would you rather have some graded Switch games or a PSA 10 Moonbryon? Me personally, a PSA 10 Moonbryon.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I have a Switch, very rarely play it. So I don't have the connection to like Switch games that I would. Like if you said like some like PS2 games, PS1 games that I used to play growing up versus the Umbreon, then I would take that. But Switch games over an Umbreon, I have more connection over modern cards than modern video games.
And Catch 'em All TV came back and said, thanks, buying A++ 9.8. So again, you have the money, you value it at that amount. That's like, I think that's the highest achievable grade. I do think they give out the 10, although it's like way more scarce than Black Labels or Perfect 10s, like significantly. I think James has mentioned before. Josh has mentioned too. I think there's like a GTA 3, which he collects some of the Grand Theft Auto series. I think there's like a GTA 3 Perfect 10, and then I think there's like a handful of other 10s out there. If you're buying it because you think this is the highest grade, it's a popular game, and I think it's going to 10x in 20 years, it might. I would highly doubt it, and I would highly question why you think that would happen. But again, like, it's your money, do what you want to do. If you're buying it because you have that money and you just want the highest achievable grade of games that you love on the shelf to look at and admire, that's awesome. Like, it's awesome that you enjoy that way. I don't personally, but like I have a sealed lime green. I don't know where I put it. I have a sealed lime green Game Boy Color somewhere.
It's back in one of your totes.
Yeah, it got toted.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Point 10?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with what you said there. If it's for yourself, collecting it, go for it. Investment wise, maybe.
And I've been surprised before. Like, I have an Evolutions booster box behind me. If you had told me when I was buying them from my distributor for $86 a box, if you had told me you were buying them for $100 on eBay and you were expecting them to 10x within 2 years, I would have said you are insane. I would have said there is almost no reason, like there's no 0.0001% chance that comes true. And then it happened. If you had told me in 2019 that you were buying Eevees and Pikachus from me for $50 and you were planning on them 20xing, if you had told me you planned on them 20xing within 20 years, I would have said you were nuts. And then they 20x within 2 years. So like, these are our opinions, these are our thoughts. That could turn out to be a good investment in hindsight. I just don't think it would be. But there are 2 examples of things that I didn't think would be that ended up being evolutions, and then PSA 10 Eevee and Pikachus. So yeah, just I want to throw that like counterpoint out. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying my thoughts and why I have them. Pointin, if I'm saying that right, is anyone else rather surprised that mid-era EX PSA 9s are relatively cheap? I managed to pick up 5 slabs from different EX sets for sub $100 each. Some even look good enough for slab optimization. You want to hit that one first?
I was honestly surprised, but I bought I got a few in trade, or I bought them in Orlando, and when I was listing them on eBay, like the PSA 9s, all like the unpopular ones. What are some of them? Like Regirock, Clawitzer, Kingdra. No, not a Kingdra. All like super unpopular Pokemon that nobody would really want. But PSA 9s, and they're like $100 a piece. Some of them like 120 a piece, but they're all within that range. And to me, that seemed fairly cheap, considering you're only getting 2-3 per booster box. Booster boxes are really expensive. The whole EX era was getting into like the really low point in Pokemon. And plus the cards themselves do have a decent bit of popularity behind them. So for me, I was kind of surprised by how cheap they were. They are pretty tough to grade, especially 10s. 10s are really tough. But even 9s from just like random collections, it is pretty tough to get 9s. So I can see where you're coming from. As far as like long-term investability wise, I'm not sure on that. Just because like the demand is less than WotC. Even some like WotC modern, you do have less of a demand with the EX era, mid-era stuff. But yeah, I could see those being good pickups for sure.
Any of these questions that kind of hinge on future value, speculating / investing in cards, waiting for them to go up, I'm just never comfortable saying like, I don't want to validate anyone's investment because I have no idea where it's going to end up. And I don't know. Again, are these as a consumer? Are these because you enjoy them as a collectible? That's awesome. Relative to other things, I think those are decent value. But if you're talking about investment, if you're talking about line goes up, number goes up, make more money, I'm just, there's almost nothing in cardboard that I think is a better buy. And it's a boring answer that no one wants to hear. But tax advantaged investment accounts. I just, there's nothing short term, short time frames. You can flip, you can make a lot of money. I do it as a job. But long term investment, just trying to get money off your money, I don't do it in cards. That's where I'm at. So yeah, I think it's all relative, right? Like it's all relative. It's a spectrum of the most overvalued to the most undervalued, and everything resides somewhere on this spectrum. Me overall though, like just as a consumer, do I value it more or does the market value it more? There are very few things that I value more than the market, if any. And a lot of the things that I do or I value the same as the market are like behind me. Some of the meme type things. I get more joy out of like a PSA 10 Griddle Greaser Pete than I do out of a lot of the graded cards that I sell, because I think it's just hilarious and the price point is fine. I'm not comfortable owning like $100 is a lot of money. I'm not really comfortable owning. I don't, in my normal life, I don't spend $100 on much. Mostly things that I like. in a lot of ways, these things are just like knickknacks, right? They have no utility towards your life. They're not a car. They're not like a TV. They're not a tool. They're not providing you any utility. I mean, the joy and happiness and those things are all important. If you get like pleasure out of owning them and looking at them, and but they're not like doing anything, right? So, and everyone's different, but there's nothing else. Like trying to think in my personal life, what do I spend $100 on that does nothing than look cool? Literally nothing. There's nothing that I like, unless I'm not thinking of it, but that's where I come from on all that.
You gotta spend money on something, because
Like
you
food.
can literally say that about
Food and
anything.
travel. Food and travel for me. Like my family, my wife and I, we value like experiences. Food and travel are our main expense items, I guess, on our budget. But yeah, at the end of the day, like you got to spend your money somewhere, and if you have the money, if you're not putting it on credit cards. But again, if people are asking me, I want to invest money, where should I put it? Can you validate my investment? I always get a little nervous when it sounds like that.
He did say not for investment, just want a full set EX PSA 9 for the PC.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Like if you don't care about future value, I see way more value in those than like I'm talking down my own play, talking down my own flip. I'm selling PSA 10 coins from theme decks for $100. You are getting way more value, I think, personally. Like if I was a consumer, if I had to take one as a consumer, would I rather have a PSA 10 Torrential Cannon Blastoise coin or a PSA 9 Dragonite Hollow? That one would probably be more, but like a PSA 9 Charmander, the Ditto Charmander from Delta Species. I think that's about $100 card. I would much rather have that than a PSA 10 coin, personally. But it's all how you attribute value, and you buy where you see value and you sell where you don't.
Yeah.
Pokemartin says, how much those canvases cost you, my guy? They're only $40 each. So although I do have $200 of canvases behind me, they were only $40 each individually. And again, like honestly, I'm not a big like putting holes in the wall type guy. I'm like keep the walls plain and empty. We have a lot of family photos around the house, similar canvas style. You go on to like what's the website called? My wife bought Shutterfly. You go on to Shutterfly. You get the things in the mail, 60% off all the time. We have a lot of canvases like this of family photos and things like that, but we don't really have a lot of knickknacks or random things around the house. We have mostly plain walls with just some family photos about, which is the way I prefer it. But again, I see some yucking complaints in the I'm not trying to yuck anyone's yums. I'm just trying to, hopefully nobody, it's a joke, it's a meme. Dan's my financial advisor. Dan's my CPA, my investment advisor. I'm none of those things. So if people come and ask me like veiled questions of, did I make a good investment? I just don't want to be at all responsible for any of that. Oh, here we go. Raji Card says, oh, I'll go back to walruses when this one's done. If PokeFlipz started a YouTube beef with another PokeTuber, who would it be? I think old school Pokemon for sure.
What?
No,
How does that make any sense?
I'm very bearish. I'm very bearish on PokeTuber beefs and drama. I think it's not only are they bags, but that type of content and that type of just drama tube is not good. I don't want to be a part of it. Are you looking for starting a big beef with anybody? You want to call someone out? Call out the haters here?
No, there was only Pokenav was really the only one that I really could not stand with a passion, and he's retired, so Yeah, no, aside from him, there's really no one that I strongly don't like or whatever. Yeah, I
And
just like there's certain people that I don't watch, but it's he for some reason just was not a fan.
and I don't get it. Like, I mean, you're calling out people by name, but I was gonna try to stay vague.
Well,
I
I had said him previously,
There's a ton
so
of people out there who I don't watch any of their content at all. I watched some of his periodically. It wasn't something that aligned with like what I seek in my content, so I just didn't watch him. But
yeah,
hate watching is like an epidemic, or at least is from time to time, because I just don't understand. I'm in a lot of discords, and there would be people like, "Oh my god, XYZ posted a video again," and then they link it and they talk about it and they stress about it and it like ruins their day. It's like, what are you doing? Just stop, hide the channel. You'll never see him again. Block the channel, hide the channel, whatever YouTube calls it, and just don't engage with it. Like, I don't know why people get so hung up on following. Like, life is too short to. This goes into the whole MetaZoo thing too, right? Like, I'm a MetaZoo partner, and the amount of people that just make it part of their brand, part of their just life energy pouring into hating something else. Like, it's really weird. Brad G wants to see you
yeah.
step into the ring.
I will never understand that.
Yeah,
That whole thing.
live and let live. Here we go.
Yes.
Probably a very good tie-in. Maybe it was good that I asked them in this order. Mr. Walrus says, if you could shut down anyone's YouTube channel, who would it be?
Do you have an answer for this one?
I'm gonna say like I'm gonna go like just like the businessman way. I want to shut down Mr. Beast so that those billions of views can be spread amongst all of us. I mean, I theoretically, if Mr. Beast gets shut down, there is millions and billions of watch time hours being freed up, and I might get one of those or two of those. So shut his down and give us all a chance.
There we go. There we go. He hasn't. He's been pretty quiet lately. Haven't seen any new videos from him in a while.
I never used to watch his videos at all, but I do watch some periodically now. They're fine.
I'll watch pretty much all of his videos.
Are they that? I mean, they're interesting usually, but yeah, I guess they're just not. A lot of what I do with YouTube content consumption is like not watching. It's just passively listening. So his don't fit well for that. Yep. That's the biggest issue.
Yeah, no, definitely not. No, I like, and it's like upload. He like uploads like once a month at this point, so it's like it's not that much of a commit. Like it's not something where he uploads every single day. He's more like me. Takes a once a month approach. That's why I haven't uploaded anything. I'm just taking after him.
Yeah. You're going for just straight quality, right? Quality over quantity.
Yeah.
So that next
Yeah,
one is going to be
exactly.
amazing. Imagine. Darren M asks, has USPS ever rejected to ship your package because it exceeded the weight limit for first class mail? Generally what happens is they'll just do an adjustment. If you're classifying it as first class and it's like 2 pounds, I think generally what happens is eBay will just email me like a week later, or Pirate Ship or whatever I bought it through. They'll just say like, hey, your postage was too short. We adjusted it up and you owe an extra $5, and they just like auto charge you. I've never had a package come back for insufficient postage, and I've also never had a package go non-delivered. Or I've never had like the weird instances where sometimes they will try to collect on delivery. They'll try to collect additional postage if you shorted it. I've never had that happen to like one of my customers. They've always just upcharged me I think because I buy them on eBay, I buy them on Pirate Ship. So it's just like an automated process. There was one time, like a few months back, someone shipped me a consignment and it was like $30 short. And my postal worker was like, "Oh, I don't want to do this to you. I don't want to." And I'm like, "Oh, it's fine. It's a consignment. I'll just charge them." Now that I think about that, I need to make a note because I don't know if I ever went back and took it out of their consignment payout. What about you?
Uh, yeah, never rejected because of the weight limit. I have had the times where you got to pay more, or it gets delivered and you have to pay more to actually pick it up. But yeah, no, similar to you, where it's more so automated. Every once in a while, those emails saying they charged additional postage on such and such an order. Um, but yeah, yeah. Usually for me, like if it's, I know there's some people like if it's because like going from 15.9 ounces up to 1 pound, there is a pretty substantial increase in the cost there. So I know there's some people who will try and get away with it. It's like just over 1 pound shipping in first class. I've always just upgraded to priority. So it's never really been a thing for me.
Yeah. One guy says, questions, what methods, if any, would you do to bring extra attention to your eBay auction block? Worth posting in a few Discord/Facebook, or better to use my time on other profitable work and let play out? eBay actually has promoted auctions now. You can pay like a fixed fee, I think, a couple bucks, and they'll like pump your auction harder. Are you aware of that?
I didn't know that? No.
I know PK mentioned it. I don't really do auctions, but I heard PK talk about it before. I believe it was him. Uh, so that's an option, I guess. You can do like the whole pay to win thing within eBay. If you have a YouTube, if you have an Instagram, promote it for free where you can promote it for free. I wouldn't say like a lot of Discords, a lot of Facebook groups probably have rules against that. So don't violate the rules of whatever community you're in. To just likely you're going to be posting it to people who don't want to buy it anyways. Like eBay's user base is millions of people. So if you take your eBay auction listing and post it within a group that has hundreds of people or thousands of people, obviously they're very specified towards your niche, but you're probably not helping as much as you think you are, and or you're breaking rules anyways. But if somewhere has an allowance for you to do it, then I guess go ahead and do it if it's allowed. But other than that, you're probably going to make more money just sourcing more cards or grading more cards, or anytime people are like checking the Domino's tracker, checking the PSA tracker. Oh, I'm in QA1, QA2, I'm this, that. You'll make more money. You'll be further ahead just sourcing your next submission. Stop looking at the trackers. Stop overthinking. I know I used to do it a little bit back when I ran auctions, but how many people, let me know in chat, own up to it. How many of you, when you run a 7-day auction, check that auction 50 times throughout the week? You are not going to change the final sale price. Look at it once it's done and paid. Don't stare at it all week. Don't be that meme, the guy with the stick saying, do something. Do something else with your time to make more money and get further ahead, or just enjoy yourself. Play a video game. Play Mario Party. Play Legends Arceus. Whatever you want to do. The amount of money or the amount of time, which time is money. The amount of time people spend just like looking at stuff that doesn't do them anything except cause them stress and anguish is kind of crazy.
That hurts. That hurts, Dan. Because that's what
Did I personally attack
started
you?
my whole Pokemon empire.
Yeah.
I would I've told this before, but when I
remember the
sold
story
my
now.
childhood collection on eBay, I would come home from school every single afternoon. We sold it through an eBay auction, and I would come home from school every single afternoon, and that would be the first thing that I did was check how many views, check how many watchers, look at the whole bid history, and it got me addicted to selling on eBay. So if it wasn't for checking the views and watchers, I probably wouldn't know you now. But yeah, for the most part, checking that stuff, it doesn't you're not going to change anything. So don't get too caught up with that. But as far as promoting auctions better, I've always done so like higher end cards, do 10-day auctions over 7-day. I think that's a big one because your auction is on eBay for longer than the typical time frame. I'll always do like a really good title, as many item specifics as I can. Just kind of like anything that would help get at least a few more eyes on it. But doing all that through eBay is gonna be your best bet. I'll also post like Instagram stories of auctions that are ending the following day. Those get a few clicks. Never noticed anything too drastic from that. Same thing with Facebook. I've never done Facebook. But that could be an option. I can't see that being like a really good way to bring more people in. One thing I would suggest that I did have some decent luck with, if you want to pay for like an advertisement, I used to advertise a lot of my consignment auctions through Pallet Town on Instagram, and I did notice like some of the auctions that I would advertise through him, especially if it was like a bigger card, I would notice like an increase in like the number of views, the number of watchers compared to like typically. But I guess it's like tough to tell, like, because like you're not comparing it to the same exact card. So was that additional views and watchers because of him, or was it just because of the card that was being auctioned? It's really tough to tell. But I would definitely say your biggest thing is to just do everything right on eBay, because that's where you're going to get the most eyes.
And eBay calls it Promoted Listings Express. So they do have like a pay to win feature on auctions now too, which kind of feels bad in a way. It's like you think that they'd give you enough visibility without, but more and more it's becoming an SEO type endeavor to just pay for the eyes, who then ultimately pay you back.
Wish I knew. Can you do that? Is that a thing? I'll have to look into that. Is that a thing you have to do like right in the beginning, or can you do it while your auction's live? I wonder.
Right when you list it.
Oh, dang it. So I would have done that for a few that I have right now.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
it just feels bad that you like need to. It feels bad that it is what it is. That's the world we're in, the whole algorithm run world. But Brad G Card says, question, when are we getting PokeFlipz merch? For anyone that watched my live stream yesterday, I did buy one of Josh's, the Green Shiz's shirts. He has a nice, I think it's called Stream Elements or something. It's like a nice setup where he doesn't have to stock any inventory. He just sets up an account with a certain company that will like print on demand. So maybe we do that. I might do that with my own channel. We might do that with PokeFlipz. If there's actually a demand there, we might look into putting that together. Could happen sometime in the coming months, I guess. I don't want to make any promises for time frames, but yeah, that could happen. Kai says you can do auctions while live. It's a pro rata charge. Kai says you can do auctions while live.
Yeah, I just saw that. I'm going to have to look into that.
Or you can just do buy it now listings and make more money anyways.
Well, no, the reason why, so it's the ones that I'm talking about specifically, one of them's a consignment, a BGS 6.5 first edition Charizard. And then the other three are cards that I traded for a PSA 8 first edition Charizard at Collecticon. So I figured I wanted the money for those cards, because the reason why I was trying to sell the Charizard was because I wanted the money. So I figured instead of listing them, buy it now, I would just throw them up at auction and hope that I do good. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But yeah. And plus,
Bierski
what was that?
just said what all the fees are. It's $3 for 7 days, $2.50 for 5, $1.99 for anything under 3 days.
Oh, that's dirt cheap.
And depending on how you value your time, like, are you going to spend 10, 20 minutes going, getting all your listings and posting them in Discords and Facebooks and again, potentially violating rules? I would heavily lean towards just paying eBay. eBay knows their algorithm. If you're buying the top spots, you're going to have way more results paying eBay $3 than paying any Instagram account or doing anything on Facebook or Discord, in my opinion. And I see that Kai says, I haven't had any luck with promoted auctions, but said he did. The biggest thing I don't like about these promoted listings, you can go in and you can see what impressions were organic and what impressions were essentially through your promoted listing. I still just don't like it. It doesn't feel great because I don't fully believe it all. And the whole, saying he did, he could have had one listing. How do you, like, I don't know whether the top bidder, was that an organic search result or was that a promoted one? And like Nick said, even if you're auctioning the same card in different weeks, it's a different week. Like, you could run a PSA 10 Sword Shield 50 this week and it could sell for 30, and you could promote it next week and it could sell for 25, or vice versa. You could sell it for 30 and then you could promote it and it could sell for 50. But if you sell the same card 100 times, some people are going to say, oh, well, Sundays are good and Wednesdays are bad and this, that. There's so much variance that you'll never know. It's like when people open one pack and they hit a Moonbryon and it came from a sleeve booster, and they say the sleeve booster hits are better than Zard UPC hits, and those are better than booster box hits, which are better than tin hits. The sample size is too small. You're never going to get a big enough sample to actually know. All the data is only anecdotal, but people's brains are wired in a way where if you do it once and you have success, you'll be a lifelong customer of eBay promoted auctions and you'll just spend them. Like, it's funny. People's psychology is funny because people talk about eBay and say how high the fees are and they hate the fees, this, that. And then they'll spend $3 on every auction to get these things that, like, are they actually having that much of a benefit or not? Like, it's just really funny when you think about it, the way people's brains work and how all these things are thought about.
Yeah. But I do think it's important to play around with that stuff, because that's just how eBay's becoming, where if you do want to have good luck relatively quickly selling certain things, you might need to do promoted listings and pay more than your typical final value fees.
Yeah, it's pay to win. It's like when you walk into the grocery store, the people on the end caps, those brands on the end caps, if you see some Oreos, you don't, like, not everyone is going to make it down the cookie aisle to go get the Oreos, but Oreo, who is it, like Nabisco or something? They will pay as a company. They will pay Walmart for end cap space, because everyone, if you're going back to the beer, you see the Oreos and you might grab them. If you're going over to wherever you're going to pass the end cap, and you pay for eyes, you pay for consumer eyes, you pay for clicks. That's the algorithm driven world we live in. And the most reasonable analog to that in your day-to-day life, the end cap analogy, I think is a valid one, because those aren't free. Those brands that just end up at the end caps, like, especially talking about like a Walmart, like a big company, mom and pop grocery store type thing, they probably arbitrarily place what they place where they place it. But when you talk about like a Walmart or a Target or a store like that, a lot of companies are spending money, not directly spending money. A lot of times they just sell it cheaper or something. They're giving Walmart more margin to be able to be on the end cap. And that's the same thing with promoted listings. It is what it is. Like, a lot of consumers are very fickle, and a lot of them just kind of like mystery box buyers. We could get really deep in this. A lot of people have money. They log on to eBay. They don't know what they want. They just know that they have money and they don't want it. They're allergic to money. I have money. I don't want it. I'm going to go on eBay. My paycheck just hit. I have $500 to evaporate. I have $50 to evaporate. And whatever eBay algorithm feeds them, the shiniest nice thing, they're gonna click it. They're gonna click it and buy it. So yeah, pay to win is definitely a thing on eBay and elsewhere in life.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Zard Lurking 92 says, question. I love the stop signs. I'm seeing more of those now. I'm not gonna miss them. What is your favorite EX era and Diamond and Pearl era set? And have you / would you want to complete a master set? You got answers ready for that?
For me, it's easy.
Yeah, you go first then.
EX Fire Red Leaf Green. By far the best EX era set. Absolutely love that one. And then Diamond and Pearl. Sorry for any of you mid-era people, but is there a good Diamond and Pearl set? I don't like I Diamond and Pearl, Platinum, that whole era. There is nothing good about it. Literally nothing. So they're all equally as bad.
You don't like all the hollow bleed of the Secret Wonders cards? Secret Wonders is nice. I would probably lean towards Secret Wonders. I'm not like a huge fan of the era as a whole, but Secret Wonders is pretty cool. A lot of them will call them hollow bleed errors in their titles on eBay, but that's kind of standard for the set, the hollow bleeds. And then EX era, Unseen Forces. It's unfortunate what happened with the Gold Star, the Legendary Beasts, but that set is amazing. Unseen Forces is probably one, and then the other two rounding out the top three would probably be like Team Rocket Returns and then Fire Red Leaf Green, because you've got like my original nostalgia, my starters there. Unseen Forces is like Gen 2, similar thing. You've got all the big Gen 2 guys. Great set. But I don't really do reverse hollows at all. So I don't really care to complete a master set. I have had master sets of all those at one point or another, but at this point they've been picked over. I've sent out certain cards for grading, and I'll probably never reassemble them because I'm just past that point in my journey, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would probably never build a complete set of Fire Red Leaf Green.
Josh hopped in right when we were talking about GTA Perfect 10 WADA games.
Perfect timing.
Steve ETCG on the topic of pay to win. When promoting a buy it now listing on eBay, what's the recommended percent? Sometimes eBay suggests over 12%, which I think is too high. Whatever eBay has recommended, they know better than I do. Honestly, like when I see super high recommendations, it's generally for like the Sword Shield 50s. It's for the SM210s. It's for the 001 SVPs. It's for the cards with a ton of competition. So I don't always go with the recommendation, but sometimes I do. If I have a card that there's 5 listed in total and I'm the lowest list, I don't promote at all. If I'm the only one listed, I don't promote at all. If I've got a super niche thing where I've got to wait for my buyer to come to me, I don't promote. If I have a card with 0 cost basis, it's all profit, and there's a ton of competition, and it's a race to the bottom, I've thrown double-digit promotions in. If I bought a card for $2, graded it for 15, and it's selling for 100, I will gladly pay eBay 10, 12 extra bucks to sell it today before it's 80 tomorrow, before it's 50 next week, or 3 weeks from now, whatever it may be. So case by case, there's no perfect percentage, but eBay has an algorithm that feeds you this, that, whatever it should be. That's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. Normally for me, I cap it at 7% is like the highest I'll go. Normally, for the most part, my stuff is like 5%, most of it. But it could also just be because what I'm promoting, there's not a whole lot of competition. Because like the stuff that I'm promoting, pins, those Detective Pikachu packs, the Team Rocket boxes, I don't really promote too many. I don't think I have any graded cards promoted. Just because the stuff that I promote is stuff that I have a lot of. And there's not really a singular graded card that I have a lot of
Cheeks Galore 209 says, "Do y'all think Scarlet and Violet will be printed to demand like Sword Shield base?" Yes. I think they're largely printing most sets to demand. Certain sets get multiple reprints like Evolving Skies, and the demand continues to outstrip the supply for whatever reason. I think generally speaking, though, like every other set, it will be heavily printed and largely printed to demand. But I cannot tell you what sets will get Roaring Skies versus what sets will get Team Upped. I have no way of knowing that, and you never know if or when that last reprint is coming. We don't know for Evolving Skies yet either.
Yeah. I would imagine they'll print a lot of Scarlet and Violet where it's the first set of a new era. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. I was surprised. Like I got more booster boxes of Scarlet and Violet than I did Silver Tempest. But then it sounds like a lot of people got less.
I got quite a bit more too.
Scarlet. Yeah. I don't know what the case is there. I know we're like smaller accounts compared to other people, so maybe that's it, but yeah, I was surprised by that one. So it'll be interesting to see what happens to box prices once the set actually comes out.
Brad G Card says, "Can you guys start up the Dallas hype train? Choo choo. It's officially started."
Choo choo.
No, I'm super excited. 2 months. 2 months from like today, right? Slightly less than 2 months from today. It's gonna come real quick.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, no, it'll be good. I'm excited for it. I'm a little nervous to see how it'll go, being the section that we're in. It'll be interesting to compare it to Orlando. See how we do, because like in Orlando we were right towards the front. Dallas we're way in the back, so it'll be interesting to see. We'll get a different experience. But yeah, no, it'll definitely be a fun time for sure. I always thoroughly enjoy these CollectCons. I'm ready to go for it though. I finally got it caught back up from Orlando, so I'm ready for the next one now.
Yeah, I can't wait. Sure, it'll be a blast. I wish I had a separate section. I wish at the time we had very little interest in the Discord for Dallas, so we only had accounted for like 5 tables. We went and did a section, and now there's about 35 tables worth of interest, and we have one section. So it is what it is. For Charlotte, when that pops up, I'll definitely do my own section. We might do up to 4. So Dallas hype, Charlotte hype, potentially Houston hype, Nick's doing Long Beach. Lots of hype. Always fun stuff going on.
Yeah, it's gonna be an exciting year.
Nate G says, "I've had a decent amount of cards lost with eBay standard envelope. Do you run into problems with that? I put the card in a top loader and use a plain white envelope. I do not have many lost at all. It's very, very infrequent. I don't do a massive amount, but honestly, run the numbers. What percent are you having lost? And compare that to paying $4. Instead of paying 60 cents for shipping tracked, pay $4 for first class. I'm sure you're coming out ahead of using it with a higher loss rate than first class and just paying significantly less. I mean, you can only do it for orders up to $20 or cards up to $20 anyways. So if you lose 1 out of 100 $20 shipments, or even if it's, this would be drastic, this would be crazy. If you're losing 1 out of 10 $20 shipments, that's costing you like $2 per shipment. That's still half the price of buying $4 track shipping. So you're going to be much further ahead just continuing to use the eBay standard envelope, I would think, in every circumstance. Oh, you're muted.
It is very frustrating, eBay standard envelope. But at the same time, you're going to run into those issues where packages just get lost. They don't get that. So from what I know, if you're like for ESE, if it doesn't get that initial scan, it won't get any future scans. Which kind of sucks because that does happen on occasion. And then if it's not getting scanned, then you have those people who come in and say, "Oh, I never got the item," when they probably did. So ESE does have its issues. For me, it's like 1-2% of what I'm shipping out, so it's really not a big deal. You just gotta stay focused on the positive aspects of it. Like having to go back to the days where you can't bulk print ESE orders and you have to click on each individual order, copy, paste the address. You can't be eligible for top rated seller. I would never want to go back to that. So you're going to be selling those low end cards. You just got to accept that you're going to run into issues where you have to refund buyers. They do have insurance where if it doesn't say that it's delivered and you end up refunding a buyer, you can file an insurance claim to get the money back. They're usually good about that. I've tried it once or twice before, but there's like so much that you have to go through. I don't think it's worth it. But if you're doing like only a couple ESE orders every once in a while, it might be worth it to keep track of that. You have to wait like 30 days, and then you have to fill out a bunch of information. So depending on like your position, how many you're shipping out, it might be worth it to keep track of that and file an insurance claim every single time. Because like I said, they are actually good about paying that out. But it's just whether or not it's actually worthwhile for.
Yeah, it's a numbers game. We did get, we're under half an hour behind now, but we did get over half an hour behind even without our initial backlog. So I'm trying to churn through some of these a little bit quicker. Pokey Martin says, question, what are some red flags you guys would notice in the market that would make you bearish on Pokemon? $200 base set packs, $1 slabs, $50 modern booster boxes, etc. Yeah, I mean, prices going down in massive ways. I think general just views going down. Look at some amount of an indicator. I don't know how much of an indicator, but look at like the Social Blade for PokeRev's account, and if his views go down 90% and just if a lot of those things happen all together, it would feel like, okay, demand has just gone down universally across the board. Is this going to be here for a while? Are we going to go through a decade-long lull? Or is it a short-term thing? Like $90, $80 modern booster boxes could happen if and when we get slammed with a big reprint. So it all depends on context of what else is going on and how widespread it is. But you listed some of them. I don't have much more to add.
Yeah, I think out of those that you mentioned, $50 modern box would probably be the biggest red flag for me. Dollar slabs, I know you talk about that a lot. I don't know if we'll see that outside of like complete junk slabs. That would be interesting. I don't know how I would feel about that. But yeah, all the $200 base set packs would be a lot cheaper than today, but that's still like a good decent price. So modern boxes being $50 would probably be the biggest one for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree on which one of those would be the worst for sure, the worst indicator. Max, just some fun thoughts. Could a billionaire Pokefan destroy vintage Pokemon collecting? Meaning, could he buy all sealed products and keep it for himself or open all? I mean, if someone literally just had a default save search of Pokemon Booster Box or Pokemon PSA 10 WotC, whatever it may be, our market cap is small relative to a lot of things. So if someone wanted to just literally buy everything and send it into a wood chipper, it would have some effect, right? It's such an absurd hypothetical. I'm not sure how much discussion it would warrant, but yeah, relative to sports, relative to a lot of things, the market cap's tiny. I think that's why a lot of people do try to like invest in it, speculating that long term the prices will go up if it gets more interest, this, that, whatever. Uh, no one's going to. No one's going to just. I mean, billionaires didn't become billionaires because they like destroying money. So you do say keeping it for himself though. Like if Warren Buffett decides I wanna be the very best like no one ever was and has to buy and own every single booster box. I mean, it wouldn't destroy vintage Pokemon collecting though. This stuff is spread so far and wide and kind of thin. Like there'll always be some amount out there. Like there's 100 and what 110, 120 PSA 10 base first edition Charizards, and at any given time, there's not more than like a couple on the market. I have a base set unlimited booster box behind me. What are there on eBay? Maybe 10, maybe less. And some of those are like 2 times, 3 times, 4 times last sold. There are several thousand of these in the world, but there's only a handful listed at any time. So if someone just started buying everything, it would take a long time before anyone realized that was happening. And would it ultimately have any effect? And it's not going to happen anyway. So I guess I won't go further than that.
Yeah. I think it would have an effect, but like you said, it wouldn't ever happen.
Yeah.
And it would be really tough for someone to come in and try and buy every single base set box. Because at some point pricing would shoot up drastically on them. But yeah. That's about all I got for that one.
Yeah. Boynton says, question, I have Black Label Dragon Ball Super Secret Rare card that is Pop 6. No comps to go off of, but want to sell it as it has no place in my collection. How do you deal with these selling-wise low pop cards? I recently had a Black Label Susanoo from Naruto, which I knew nothing about. I consulted with some people much more experienced in the Naruto CCG than myself. I had a few people kind of appraise it in some ways, but at the end of the day, it's my card. I know what I have into it. I'm the owner, and you got to deem like how much money do you want in place of that card. I think people way overthink and way overstress. I need to get the exact perfect amount. What's it worth? Like these cards are not worth any amount of money. Intrinsically, they're worth 0. I think some people way overthink and way overstress. I need to get the exact amount. You could list that card. I have no idea whether it's a $500 card in PSA 10 or a $1,000 card in PSA 10. Look at what it is in PSA 10. Look at the most common comp, like what's it in pristine? Is there a Black Label sale ever? Use all those data points to guide how you price yours. But at the end of the day, it's what you and a buyer decide. No one else can say anything more. You could sell it for I have no idea. You could sell it for $2K, and there might have been a buyer out there willing to pay $3K. If you're worried, maybe go higher by it now with best offer and then go there. That's how I did my Susanoo. I was told by multiple people it was probably worth 3 to 4. I priced it at 5. I accepted 4. Could I have gotten 4,500? Could I have gotten this, that? I don't care. I don't know. I had very little into it and I got 4K out of it. So I was happy at the end of the day. That's my thoughts on all that. I think it's one of the most common things that people spend way too much time and energy on. And I know you want to maximize what you've got, all this and that, but there's no number. It's not like Apple stock. You can't just go and look at what it's worth today. You can't look at, there's not that liquidity. There's not that fungibility. All these common items, hundreds of millions of common items being the same. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I think you covered that one pretty good. Biggest thing is you obviously paid a lot less for that card than you're going to sell it for. So just be happy with the massive price make off. Just price high with the best offer, or take a gamble and go 99 cents. Auctions, I don't know anything about Dragon Ball. But Pokemon auctions have been quite surprising lately. So if it was a Pokemon card, I would probably say go for the auction.
Yeah, I think I would have gotten nowhere near 4K on the Susanoo from Naruto, but who knows? Maybe I would have gotten 5K. It does create some amount of sense of urgency. You list up a buy it now for 5K or best offer. Some people might say, oh, it's not worth anywhere near that. They might kind of like twiddle their thumbs over it, not care, not pursue it. But if you put up a 1 cent auction 7 day, you open yourself up to shilling and all that nonsense. And that's largely why I don't do auctions on stuff like that too. Because if somebody shills you and then it goes for 5K and it goes unpaid and then you release it the next week, a lot of people are going to think you shilled it, even if you didn't. So I just didn't want to mess with it at all. I wanted to get a sale. I took my 4K. I was happy. But yeah, many considerations, as with anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Walrus says, question, if I haven't graded a black label, do I suck or is Becca out to get me? They're probably out to get you, Mr. Walrus. Grade 100 001 SVPs, and then you'll know for sure. Because statistically speaking, you'd be very unfortunate to not get, 25% of 001 SVPs are grading black label. So if you grade 100, I haven't run the numbers, I haven't done the math, but statistically speaking, it would be on your side to get at least one black label. And if you didn't, then they're definitely out to get you. So you can run an experiment to try to confirm it. John says, Dan, you started with 5K. How long do you think it would take for Dan and Nick to reach where you are today if you started today with 5K with the knowledge you currently have? This question's always tough because the prices are higher, so your initial seed capital can buy less, but liquidity is also massively higher. So you can buy less, your money can't go as far, but the sales are also quicker. I think a lot of people fantasize about, oh, Dan started with 5K in 2014. I would have bought X, Y, and Z and I'd have $10 million today. It's easy to say that and it's easy to think that, but it was just a different world back then. I was selling the PSA 10 Eevees and Pikachus I was selling in 2020 for 1,000. I was selling for 40 or 30. And the ones that I'm still selling today for 200, those are $200 cards today, approximately. So the market's way bigger and the pop is 100 times higher. I don't know what it is exactly, but it's got to be at least way more than 10x. So I don't know how long it would take. If I did the exact same, if I started today, it's been 9 years. So in 9 years, could I replicate where I am? Probably not, to be honest, because I doubt we'll see the 10 to 20 times boom in the middle like we did here. I doubt we'll see 2020 again. It was a perfect storm. PSA's hopefully never going to allow the backlog to do what it did. I don't know if the audience of Pokemon will ever grow as quick as it did, as big as it did, because of COVID combined with whatever other factors. So yeah, I think I would end up short of where I am today, largely because I would lack the boom. And honestly, like 9 years from now, if you just take out all the in between, take out the boom and the bust, and if you just take 2014 to 2023 and draw a line, that's a lot of growth. Me personally, I doubt we'll see the same growth from 2023 to 2032. I don't think we'll see the same rate of growth overall, the average rate of growth. I could be wrong, but I don't think Pokemon will expand as much over the next 9 years as it did over the last. That's a guess, but that's my guess.
Yeah, I think if you took out the 2020 boom, you could probably do it in less time, having the same amount of knowledge. But with 2020, I don't think it'd be possible. Because like you said, I don't think we'll ever see another 2020. We'll have hot periods in Pokemon, but a repeat of 2020, I can't see ever happening again. So yeah, I would have to say it would take longer, but having the knowledge would definitely help save a drastic amount of time. Kind of not making the same mistakes.
And I think one thing that I forgot to address at the end of it, but knowledge was so much harder to acquire in 2014. So knowledge in 2014 was more valuable. I think knowledge is less valuable in 2023 because it's so quick to get up to speed and it's so quick to get off speed too. Everything is so quick. I see you, the face you're making, and all the YouTube channels, all the different databases we have, like information spreads so much more quicker and it's so much easier to find. Bulbapedia wasn't as fleshed out. If you go back further, pre 2014 even, it was even more so. But the accessibility to information is so much more than it was 9 years ago. So he did mention in the question, having the knowledge you have today. I think the knowledge I had in 2016, 2 years in, was more valuable than the knowledge I would have today, relatively speaking. Because like the amount of knowledge you could gain in 2 years, someone new getting into it, is vastly more than you could gain in your first 2 years, 9 years ago. Does that make sense, or is that too wordy to make sense? Someone new entering the hobby today, in 1 year, someone entering the hobby today, this is an easy one to get on board with. Imagine coming in 2005. Take it to the extreme. Imagine coming in 2003 when the internet isn't nowhere near as fleshed out as it is. No YouTube, no Discords, no anything like that. If you come in 2005 and spend a year busting your ass to try to learn as much as you can, you're learning infinitely less than if you come in today and spend the next year trying to learn. 2014, not as drastic, but the same thing applies. Not nearly as drastic as 2005, but largely it applies because the YouTube channels aren't there as in depth. They're not doing as much. So yeah, it applies just less so.
Well, my only argument with that is I'm not a good. It's like I'm a hands-on learner, so I have to be doing it myself to. Like I'm terrible about watching a YouTube video and knowing how to do something. So like Pokemon knowledge, yes, you could get online, but like eBay wise knowledge, like that kind of stuff, shipping and listing,
you can get that faster
and all that
too,
stuff.
though. Liquidity's higher, sales volume's higher, so you can get that 10 times quicker too.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess you did bring up some good points there.
Yeah, because the market's that much bigger, and you can pop up again. Your 5,000 doesn't go as far, but in some ways it almost goes further because proportionally, when you factor in liquidity, which is massive, liquidity is a massive consideration. You can churn and burn more listings, even though you're not doing relatively, like you're not buying as much 1-to-1 because the prices are 10 times what they were or whatever they are. You can still you can iterate multiple times over in the same time frame because the market's there, the liquidity's there, and that's huge.
Yeah.
Antonio Rodriguez asks, how long do you give a buyer to pay before canceling their purchase? How many reminder messages do you guys send? eBay has it built in. I have it the shortest duration they allow, 72 hours, I think. It'll automatically remind them. And then it hits them with an unpaid item strike if they haven't paid by that time. So I don't deal with it much because I do buy it nows only. So thankfully it's not that much of a consideration, but I would go into your settings and I would make the automated unpaid item reminders as short as possible. And I would make the automatic cancellation for non-pay as short as possible.
Yeah. I think it's automated for everyone now. Where they just after 4 days you can cancel a transaction as a non-paying buyer, where before you had to like do the request to cancel and then they would send more messages and all that stuff. But I think now it's all automated where eBay sends messages to the buyer. But yeah, after 4 days you can cancel, and that's what I do. I don't send any messages to the buyer asking for payment or anything like that. If the person bought something and is gonna pay, they're gonna pay. If they bought something and they're not gonna pay, they're not gonna pay. It's not gonna matter if you send them a message. So I wouldn't even waste your time sending messages and that kind of stuff.
Martin, I'll let you go first. This is one of the wild guess questions. How many people do you guys think own one of each English booster box ever produced?
Well, I know Rusty and PokeRev. So there's two right off the bat.
Dave Person.
I would say I'm gonna say 10. Yeah, no, I'll say 10 people. Or that seems I'm gonna say can I pull a U and say 5 to 10?
Oh, I thought you were gonna go higher. That's way too low. I know.
No,
I don't know how.
First base. I just can't see like more than 10 people have every single booster box.
There are several hundred to at least 1,000. Like there are at least 500 to 1,000 first base boxes out there.
I don't know if there's that many.
There's been in the past few years. There's been like 5 ripped every year. I mean, that's not coming out of a pool of 50.
No, I think there's a couple hundred, but I would say less than 500.
At the end of the day, it's all guesswork. So next guess is 5 to 10. I would guess. I don't know how much you're getting into. Do they need a 1 code green wing? Do they need every unlimited set, or do first editions only count? If you're talking like within reason, owning one of each set, whether it's unlimited or first edition, like not getting crazy, I would think it's like 25 to 50. I would think it's. There are so many people out there that have no Instagram, no Discord, no YouTube, no nothing. It's every so often you'll see one of those articles. If anyone reads those heritage magazines they send you, people wonder, why is this person CGC grading their WotC Hollows and selling it on Heritage? And then you'll read the story in the Heritage magazine. It's a family that collected in Nowheresville, Alabama or something. No socials, no anything of any kind, and they bought like a case of every set since base set, and they're selling their whole collection on Heritage. Those don't come up every week, but like it would surprise you. The world is big. The world is very big. We know PokeRev, we know Dave Person, and we know Rusty. And Rusty might come in the comments and he might say, "Oh, I actually." At this time, I currently don't own XYZ box, but I have a new one coming in next week because I just broke it or I just sold it to PokeRev, whatever it may be. Like even their collections might be semi-in flux. And then can you count certain businesses? Like does a David Adams Card World probably doesn't, because they would probably have them all listed if they did. But is there some business somewhere that owns them, and does that count as an individual doing it? You can really pick apart the question and get into a lot of nuances in that. I would be shocked if less than 20 people honestly didn't own one of every English booster box produced. I would be shocked. Same thing goes for Japanese. All these sets that never come up, There are tens of millions of Japanese who love and are passionate about the franchise, and no YouTube, no Instagram, no nothing. They've just always gone down to their corner shop and bought the latest box and put them away in a closet. There's not thousands of these people, but are there tens of these people? Dozens? I think so. Could there be 100? It wouldn't surprise me if there was 100. That's my guess. It's a complete guess, though. Like everyone's gonna have their own guess. What blows my mind is when people say there's no way it could be. Like if you try to say 10,000, I will say there's no way it could be 10,000 people, probably. But like when people, oh, there's no way it could be 25 people. That's insane. What are you talking about? Like it absolutely could be 25 people. Like WotC employees. Nintendo employees, there absolutely could be 50 or 100 people. Like we don't know, we'll never know. It's a fun thought experiment though.
The thing with this one though is like WotC employees, Nintendo employees, they probably have. I'm sure there's people who have cases of certain sets out there, but how many of those people went ahead and like continued on to collect every single booster box? That's where it gets, I think the number is a lot smaller. Because like, sure, you have people who collect WotC boxes, EX boxes, Diamond and Pearl boxes, but how many of those people collect all of those boxes together? That's where the numbers get smaller, I think. Like,
People are
there's
bad at
not as
wrapping.
many collectors who are like collecting every single era within Pokemon.
People are bad at wrapping their minds around big numbers. There are 8 billion people on this planet. It's not
Okay,
unreasonable to me that,
how many of those people
like,
collect Pokemon though? Not 8 billion of them.
no, but and obviously there weren't even 8 billion booster boxes of any set produced. But it's just like I see Mr. Walrus clearly joking when he says at least 2,500 people easy. But when people say like there's no way it could be 25, there's no way, like what the hell are you talking about? Every one of these sets had hundreds of thousands of boxes, if not millions produced. So it's a complete guess. Nick's guess is 5 to 10. What did I say? 50 to 100 or 25? Whatever I said. I don't know. You ask me tomorrow, it's going to be a different number, but it's never going to be less. I know 3, but maybe one comes in here and corrects me. Maybe I think I know 3, but only 2 of them still own one. I don't know. How many people in the world opened one of each? I mean, I opened one of each aside from base first. I've heard stupid numbers for how low that is because Pokemon got low in the 2000s, but I went back and did it in 2014, and hundreds, thousands of people, thousands if not tens of thousands have opened every box because some amount of people never left Pokemon and they just opened one set of every box as it came out. Could be tens of thousands, could be 100,000 people have opened one box of every set. Maybe that's getting too crazy, but several thousand, tens of thousands, it could be a lot, especially if you're counting employees of these companies. But what really blows my mind is when people have such firm belief in their estimate and how, like, I remember 2020, the boom. I remember hearing and reading and seeing people saying, base set unlimited, there's less than 500 of these boxes out there. There's less than 1,000 of these boxes out there. No, like, you're insane.
That is pretty far-fetched.
There were people confident about that were buying them for $30,000 as an investment. Yeah.
Well, maybe that's why they were buying them for $30,000. You need some way to justify that purchase.
Yeah. Oh, I just jumped to the bottom. Zardhunt says, have you heard about TikTok banning 98% of live rip and ships, but they're still allowing it for people that are on TikTok shop, invite only? Pretty huge market that got wiped out overnight. I do post all my shorts and all my Instagram reels on all 3 platforms. So I do have a TikTok. I do not do anything on it though, other than log in once a week to post my video. It's just, I post it as a short. And then I cross post it as a reel and a TikTok. Other than that, I have no knowledge of what's going on. This is brand new news to me. I was aware of some amount of TikTok rip and ships, but yeah, TikTok's huge. There probably is. I don't have much to say though. Like, I don't think it's gonna have. You're not really asking, is it gonna affect? You're more just making a statement about this happened. Have you heard about it? But I guess I don't have much to add.
Yeah, I didn't even know there were rip and ships on TikTok. I'm not on there whatsoever. So I did not know about that. But I can't see it having much of an effect.
Oh, Zardhunt
they won't be
said,
on TikTok, but now they'll be on YouTube or Facebook or whatnot or something. There's plenty of people doing rip and ships where I can't see it being an issue.
Zardhunt said, TikTok has labeled live Pokemon pack openings as a form of gambling. Pretty huge implications if this takes off, and TikTok being the #1 social media app. Yeah, I mean, I know there was a lot of legal stuff going on with video games and loot boxes in video games, kind of like the gacha style games in Europe specifically. I think they're a lot more strict on certain things. How that all was judged and what the court said. Pokemon is fundamentally gambling. I think the reason they get around it is because they say, we don't make any guarantees as to what you're going to get, but you're going to get 11 pieces of cardboard. Some of them are shinier than others, but you're paying $4, $4.40 for 11 pieces of cardboard, and that's it. so they get around gambling. But it is, I mean, the tie-ins to gambling in this hobby are semi-concerning, especially with, I mean, my interaction with the gambling side. Like, I do enjoy that, and then being marketed towards kids, and yeah, I don't think it's ever gonna go away. I don't think it will ever be uh made illegal universally, but that's certainly not surprising a platform would take that stance, though.
I don't know. I can't see. Once you get into all the extras, then yes, but gambling by opening a booster pack, I can't see that. That just, I don't know, because you're still getting something like the cards that you pay for at the end of the day. I don't know. It is kind of like that line where be considered gambling, because obviously you're going for those chase cards, but I don't know. I think once you start adding all that extra stuff in, then yes, but just opening packs, I don't think so.
And the toy and hobby industry as a whole, like I have kids now. We're going down the toy aisle more and more. I haven't been down the toy aisle in like decades in a lot of these places. But Mario Lego figures come in blind bags. They come in blind boxes. There are so many. The LOL surprise. You open up an egg and there's toys inside of it. Toys and toys and toys. So many, because it's lucrative. It's lucrative because, like, why sell a given product for $50 when you can sell the chance at that product for $5 and make the pull rate less than 1 in 10? So the people who want that, instead of just being able to pay $50, if you just sold Moonbryon for $500, people wouldn't want it as much. They sell the pack for $4, and they make it 1 in 1,000 pull rates, and they put a bunch of other things in there too. Some people want Moonbryon, some people want Rayquaza, some people want this, that, whatever. It's a brilliant business idea. Going back to the allergy for money, a lot of people just walk into the store. I don't know what I want, but I have X amount of dollars burning a hole in my pocket. Take it from me. That's why mystery bags sell. That's why, like, we've had this conversation endlessly. We had this conversation in Orlando. I had tons of slabs on my table for like $50 that didn't sell. If I had sold a mystery bag, if I had sold 20 mystery bags for $50 a piece, and inside one of them put $100 card or a Evolving Skies booster box, a golden ticket for an Evolving Skies booster box, I would have sold them all. Because people don't know what they want. They just want to get rid of their money, and they want the chance at something good. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, people's relationship to money is fascinating. The average person hates money, and I'm just here to try to find a way to take it from them. But the thing is, like, I try to do it ethically and with morals. I try to sell them things. That's where I get tripped up. Pokemon is brilliant. Pokemon is like, we want your money that you don't want. We'll take it, and we're gonna give you trash 90% of the time. I do it when I sell the heavy packs, but generally speaking, I sell products, specific products. A lot of people don't want specific products. A lot of people want to gamble. A lot of people know I have money. I don't want it. Give me a gamble at something shiny, and I'm gonna lose money 95% of the time, but I'll be back again and again and again. That's like the fundamental core of our hobby, and then grading is just another layer of gambling on top.
The core of the hobby, but
1000% it is. How's it not? The core product is a gamble.
More people that. No, I'm just saying about the. I think there's more people who want that one specific thing versus just give me whatever. That's all I meant with the whole core thing.
Let me find the next question. We're up to only 15 minutes behind, so we're catching up. What are your thoughts on Grand Archive? I saw that Squeaks did a video. If it's something that makes Squeaks make a video, I like it. Other than that, I have no opinion because I know nothing about it. So it made Squeaks post to YouTube, so I'm a fan to that extent. I'm not gonna buy any. I don't know anything about it otherwise, but I saw Squeaks on YouTube over it, so I like it. What about you?
I'll agree with you on that one. I have no idea what it is.
Why do people think boxes are rare? Who lied to them? Yeah, I don't know. Oh no, I jumped to the bottom again.
You are killing us here. Very end. We're not even gonna be able to catch up.
Question
got a
for
half hour to go
Dan.
through 15 minutes.
It's a long question and I didn't proofread it, so it's probably going to be a meme. Question for Dan. You constantly are telling people not to waste time checking PSA. How much time have you wasted specking on how much was printed? Thanks. I don't spec on how much was printed. I like math. I like spreadsheets. I like numbers. I've made a video playing around with a number, doing some simple math. 9 billion divided by 360 or 396, however many cards are in a pack. But yeah, if you enjoy checking the tracker, I guess more power to you. Check away. But the amount of time and the amount of discords that I'm in that are just like, I'm in QA2, he's in QA1, and he sent 1 week before, and it's like, oh my god, guys, just it'll come back when it comes back. What are you doing? Especially when it's self-described master flippers who could be using the time sourcing or something more productive. I just think it's best to do that, something productive. But again, if you're enjoying yourself, they never seem to be enjoying themselves when they're checking the tracker. So that's why I question it largely, but maybe they're having a grand old time with it. I don't know.
Maybe they're having a grand old that's the highlight of my day right there. Checking the status of PSA submissions. Oh.
All Vintage No Modern says, Dan, do you think TikTok is selling your data to groups in China? Take all my data. I don't care. I live in a part of the country, a part of the state where some people have some really colorful imaginations on what the government or what certain people may or may not be doing, and while donning a tinfoil hat, and then they're like typing things into their smartphone, and it's like, you have in your hand the bug, you have in your hand like that thing has GPS, that has audio, that has video. How do you some of the conspiracy theories that these people wrap themselves up in and worried about all the data, this, that. If you're that worried, you should not have a smartphone. You should not have a cell phone at all. So I'm not worried at all. Like, take all my data. I don't care. You can have it. I don't know what use you're going to find with it. You're going to find me. It is interesting when you like have a conversation and then the next day you get all the ads on YouTube, on Reddit, on Facebook. You have all those ads pushed to you about like furniture because you were just talking about getting a new sectional or whatever, and you've not bought a piece of furniture in a decade and you've never seen a furniture ad, and then you start talking about it around your phone, around your bug, around your wire, and it starts feeding you. The algorithms start feeding you. So they're all watching, listening. I have a YouTube with hundreds of hours of me just talking into the void, and all my data, all my information, it's all out there. I'm not afraid.
They already have all the information anyway.
Yeah.
They're not getting anything new.
Yeah, it's like, take it. I'm a 32-year-old guy that likes Pokemon, and yeah, it's all out there. No more ripping ships, Dan. Time to go back to engineering. Update your LinkedIn. A lot of it's getting harder to find the questions because the memes are rising in the chat. Is buying a Happy Meal technically gambling? Honestly, like a mystery toy If you showed the toy that the kid was gonna get with the Happy Meal, half the time my son would go up to the counter and he'd be like, I don't want that stupid thing. But when it's like going back to Family Guy, the mystery box, do you want a boat or do you want the mystery box? The mystery box could even be a boat. Like my son, if you tell him he's gonna get that little whatever Disney toy, whatever little action figure, he's like, I have one of those at home. I don't really care. I don't really want it. But if you tell him, hey, we're gonna get you the 6-nugget Happy Meal with barbecue sauce, and you could get anything as a toy, he wants that. He wants the mystery. It could be anything. It could even be that stupid toy on the counter that he didn't want, but he's happier getting it because it could have been anything. Like, human psychology is very interesting.
Yeah.
Dan getting too real on his take. We got another stop sign question, which I like. Do you feel Pokemon TCG as a whole, graded modern, will continue to rise and be more lucrative than vintage period? You want to go first because I've been ranting?
It's surprising. I know Collecticon Modern was the most frequently asked about thing for me. Everyone seemed to be asking about that. And then recently I listed some PSA 9 shadowless base cards, some other like WotC 9, 10 8, 9 first edition holos. And then a bunch of like PSA 9 modern alt arts, some PSA 10 like tag team cards from Cosmic Eclipse, and a lot of the alt arts and tag team sold instantly at my buy it now pricing. Whereas like the WotC stuff, I have yet to get an offer. So right now, Modern is absolutely destroying it. And Vintage is kind of just sitting there, which I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I think right now it's like Modern's like they're doing a really good job with Modern. Modern Pokemon is absolutely killing it. But I almost feel like it's just kind of the thing that's being talked about the most right now. And I think eventually it will calm down to a point where kind of like how it was in the past, where like WotC was like the big thing and people were buying that stuff up, and Modern was kind of secondary to that. I don't know if we'll ever get back to like that kind of extreme, but I do think the demand for Modern will die down eventually. Because right now it's just absolutely insane what's going on with that. I feel like I've been selling more like Modern stuff than vintage stuff lately, which is kind of I don't know. I don't understand it. What have you been noticing on that?
Peak hype and liquidity will always be in Ultra Modern. The thing is, Ultra Modern is always changing.
Yeah.
I think the general trend of Ultra Modern is on a smaller scale. Like everyone knows it. Everyone knows the standard release. I sold a special delivery Charizard for $675. The first one sold for over 1,000. So out of the gate, it's a race to the bottom, and then sometimes it goes too low and it picks back up for a little while. But if you look at any given card on in real terms, on an inflation adjusted basis, I think most cards will be the highest they ever are at release. And 20 years down the line, maybe something can change, more demand can come in, blah, 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 whatever. But generally speaking, these things are intrinsically worth zero. I think they will all find their intrinsic value eventually. And from now until whenever that time is, it'll just be a slow bleed to that. That's I think Moonbryon hype is at a peak. I'm not saying Moonbryon is going to zero within 5 years, but I'm saying in 50 years, it's going to be closer to zero in real terms than it is today. That's what I'm saying. Moonbryon, Sword Shield 50, Team Up, Gengar and Mimikyu, every card, all cards. I just don't think they're going to, not all, most, vast majority. If and when Pokemon can set itself out as like a reserved investments. What does he say? An established market, whatever. Some of the better fundamental things can have really high appreciation rates and maybe can outperform. But at the end of the day, this is not an investment to me. Overall, I think the cycle will just be hype, modern, new, liquid, high prices, and then they just fade off into obscurity, relative to the new shiniest thing. That's where I'm at.
That makes sense.
And I think a lot of people get really, like, a lot of people call me a bear. A lot of people think I'm way too pessimistic long term. But for Pokemon could grow. Again, if I'm right, I'm doing well, I'll be fine. If I'm wrong, I'll be destroying. Like, it'll be insane. So maybe it's part defense mechanism that I think all this stuff's going to go down eventually. But I just think that's the general trend. Look at, we're not as bad as Beanie Babies. Look at Funko Pops. A lot of analogies can be drawn between what Pokemon is and what it does, and what these mass-produced scarcity, mass-produced, like, not as bad. It's not serialized sports. It's not this, that. But at the end of the day, a lot of this stuff isn't going to be worth much of anything, is my take. And Retro says vintage equals down and to the right. I think most vintage, most mid, most modern, down and to the right in real terms. I think the top 1% or the top 1% of the 1%, I do see potentially, I'm not going to call out what I think they are, but I think the highest fundamentals, the most, like, if rich people get into it, some amount of rich people are, and like art, like, I mean, these paintings that go for millions to tens of millions, hundreds of millions. I think that some amount of stuff can separate.
Those types of people have way too much money.
But those people will always exist, right? And if enough of them care about Pokemon, then that will bleed in to some extent. But at the end of the day, like, I don't invest in Pokemon cards, is the moral of the story. Because they're not productive assets. You need a greater fool down the line to buy it from you for more money. And every year, every day, there's more and more being produced. And I just think a lot of it's going to go down over time. In real terms.
I can believe in Pokemon in the long term. You obviously believe in it too if you're full time with this.
I believe in my ability to sell it.
In Pokemon, but at the same time, you are kind of heavily invested into Pokemon.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want it to all go to zero tomorrow, and I don't think it will. But long term, most of the stuff I own, I think it's going to be worth less. I want to sell it sooner rather than later. And I do a bad job of selling it really quickly because I'm just constantly buying more than I can physically sell. But no, at the end of the day, like, I want to move my inventory because I think there's always going to be little niches, little corners of the market getting discovered and 10xing, 20xing, 50xing while the rest is flat or down. Like, look at the past 6 months. A lot of things are down. A lot of PSA 10 Japanese are like 5, 10, 20, 50x. That's like the latest. Japanese PSA 10s in a lot of regards are probably 2020ing right now. And when I say 2020ing, some people are going to be scared. I'm not saying everything's going to pop and go down. When 2020 popped, some things never went down. Some things went down more than others. Some things went, like, the market is so big and broad and diverse. Some things since 2020 are up 20 times. Some things are down 99% or 95%, 90%, and they have further down to go. Some things never went down. The market's so broad and diverse. Like, people always hear what I say and they get scared, or they apply it to their one little thing. And I'm not trying to pick on one little thing. I'm just saying, as a whole, these things are worth the most the day that they come out of the pack. 44 cents a piece. Most cards are never worth that again. 99% of cards, fundamentally, are never worth the 44-cent retail cost. Because energy cards and code cards and bulk and commons and uncommons and rares, and most of the stuff we talk about is the 1%, and I'm talking about like the 1% of the 1%, highest end, more fundamentally sound things. But still, I'm just not investing in it.
I don't know. I kind of like, because, like, if you compare like 2019 to after the boom when everything crashed, prices are still higher. So stuff has gone up. I can't see, like, are we going to go back to 2009, 2015 pricing? Is that what you're thinking? I can't see that happening.
See,
within.
People don't know what real terms means. Like in real terms, inflation adjusted terms, prices do not have to go down for them to be lower in inflation adjusted terms. Moonbreon could go to $2,000 in 20 years, but it's lost money in real terms because inflation. Like, I think people feel attacked when I say a lot of this stuff, so they really like question me. And getting more to addressing the question specifically and directly, do you feel Pokemon TCG as a whole graded modern will continue to rise and be more lucrative than vintage period? I think ultra modern graded will be more lucrative than vintage period from a flipping perspective because liquidity is higher. If you're investing, even though like Retro says, I largely agree, vintage will be down and to the right. I think that vintage though is more fleshed out, and I think that vintage will be in real terms less down and to the right. I feel like the slope downward will be less steep. Some of these PSA 10s, again, the out of the gate $1,000 price point that goes down to $100 2 months later. Those things you're not seeing in vintage. You're not going to see in a lot of vintage. Maybe you'll see it in some, not as much others. Obviously the bad vintage, PSA 10, Jungle, Eevee, and Pikachu. But I think a lot of people just get really emotional when I start talking in these fairly reasonable, rational ways. And they just feel attacked. I don't know. I don't know if it's them thinking I'm saying things worse than I am, or if they're just that like insanely bullish on everything. Everything goes up. It's all going up. We're all going to make $1 million. It's all insane. Like, and again, I could be wrong. I'm going to be doing well if I'm wrong.
I don't know. I just think, I don't know. I don't have that, I think there's a lot of stuff that could do well long term.
Me too.
It's impossible to tell, but like
there's a lot of stuff that could do well long term.
What was that?
There's a lot of stuff there's a lot of stuff today. Every given year, something will 10x. Every given year, every given decade, something will 20x over that decade or 50x over that decade. There are always plays. There's always something to buy that will be worth more numbers down the line. But like relative to scalability, time, all those things factored in, I just don't invest in it. I am invested in it. I have a big inventory, but I'm not investing in it. There's a difference. And I see some people arguing in chat about what that difference is. And
yeah, see, that's one of the things. Like you're not investing, like you're not buying cards to hold them, but you are investing in it with you're doing this full time and having this be your income. So you are heavily invested into it.
Staples isn't investing in office supplies.
It is similar.
Staples isn't investing in office supplies. They're a commodity with more utility value than anything. They're selling stuff that intrinsically doesn't have much value, but it has a utility value to a consumer. Most things that Staples sells are worth nothing in a year, let alone 10 years, 20 years. They get thrown in the garbage eventually once they're done and used and over with. I see these things more as that than the average person does. And it's kind of scary how many people, in my opinion, see them as investments, see them that they will go up. They justify their spending by, oh, it's going to be worth something someday. I just think that's pump the brakes on it a little bit. Me personally.
I don't know. I like, cause like, why are you buying so much still then? And why aren't you selling those, like the Art Academy cards and your other trophy, your whatever number 3 that you have left?
See, I sold my 1, 2, and 4 because they were a lot of money, and I think I can do way better things with that money in the short, medium, and long term. The Art Academy cards, why am I not selling like Chespin? I have a PSA 9 Chespin. an auction went for like 3,500. Why would I sell my PSA 9 Chespin Art Academy that has 100 copies, maybe 200, how many extra copies, whatever? Why would I sell that when I can sell a PSA 10 Champions Festival from 2016 for $8,000? I sold that. And then I bought more sealed packs, and sealed packs are hard to find right now, and I'm having a hard time replacing that inventory, but it's all relative, right? I sell the worst things first, and I sell the better things slower. And I think if you look at my eBay and you sort it by price high to low, I think some things are better than others. I'm trying to sell the worst things first. It's, again, I think people feel attacked in a lot of ways when I talk about how I think most of this stuff is going to go down. 99.9% of it is going to go down in real terms in the next 20 years. But that doesn't mean I can't make a lot of money in it. I can't make good business in it. And I'm not saying that from like I'm selling it before it goes to zero. I think there's a lot of time before a lot of it goes that low. But I just think a lot of it won't grow nearly as well as just investing in productive assets. You need someone to buy it for more down the line. There's not always going to be that next person to buy it for more money. There's not always going to be. At some point, Pokemon as a whole, long enough timeline, in our lifetimes or not, I don't know. It'll shrink. It'll shrink to some extent. It shrunk some in 2020, and that stung. A lot of things fell a lot. That was perfect storm. The perfect storm unwound itself because some amount of people went back to their real lives, the real world, not COVID inside indoors, whatever. And grading opened and this and that. But like at some point, Pokemon as a whole will contract, and I think there will be some pain because I think print runs are very high right now. I think Pokemon's doing well managing it. And print runs are lower than they could be if they printed to keep Evolving Skies at 80 or 90 on eBay, and they printed that quantity and they successfully did it, and then Pokemon went into a lull, it could be really bad. We could see $50 booster boxes that we've never seen before. I think they're managing it well, and I believe in them to manage it well. I quit my job to do this full time because I enjoy it, and I'm not trying to yuck yums. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to say this is all going to zero tomorrow. But this is not going to grow, in my opinion, like any kind of an investment that I would expect. Like this is not going to provide you any kind of an investment return that I would seek relative to the effort, relative to the risk. But as far as, again...
Yes, like comparing this to like a traditional asset, sure. But... look at like from like the time we got into it to now, stuff has gone up drastically. I don't think stuff's going to continue to go up like it has, but I don't think that stuff is going to go down from where we bought it at originally. Like
down in real terms, though.
Do you think like
that's what I'm saying?
We're going to go back to like 2014, like pricing back then, and stuff's just going to like completely collapse?
That's not what I'm saying. That's what a lot of people hear. I think a lot of people hear inflation adjusted real terms.
Sounds like, I don't know.
That's not what I'm saying though. Honestly, this will please some people and this will annoy some people. I believe way more. I have way more skin in the game in ultra modern booster boxes at wholesale prices. I am way more bullish on ultra modern sealed at wholesale prices than mid-era low pop cards, than WotC low pop cards. I'm way more bullish on ultra modern sealed than at per investment, per price goes up terms. I like the fundamentals better of ultra modern sealed booster boxes at wholesale prices than I do. If I had to park $5,000 in Scarlet and Violet booster boxes at $96.50 a piece, or put $5,000 into one low pop WotC Hollow, give me the Scarlet and Violet booster boxes every time. I think ultra modern sealed at wholesale pricing matters. Pricing matters a ton. At the right price, wholesale modern is in the top 10% of the hobby as far as expectations for returns. And there's memes about people investing in this and that, and how many people are investing, how many people are ripping. Some people might hear that, Perma Bear Dan, whatever you want it, like that might blow their minds. Like I am way more comfortable having 6 figures in ultra modern sealed than I am in having 6 figures in one single trophy card. The plus minus, the potential outcomes, the risk of like 10x versus 90% loss. I think the upside and the downside are both cushioned when you look at something like sealed over a singular trophy card. But again, this is all. I'm one dude. I'm one dude with one set of opinions. I think it's fun when we don't have perfect alignment and agreements on these things, but some of it kind of scares me. Like I've had conversations with some people that I think get defensive and get combative and get worried because they like have a big, this stuff's gonna 10x like it did and it's gonna do it again in the next boom. And this, I've made videos about my concern when people talk about the next boom as if a 20x is coming again to save you. Like that's scary.
Yeah, because I don't believe we'll ever see another 2020, but I do believe in this stuff long term. I think we will still see continued slow growth. I don't think it'll be as good as like investing in stocks, but that's not fun either.
Do you think ultra modern
whatsoever?
Do you think ultra modern PSA 10s
extra money? What?
The question itself is whole graded modern. Do you think ultra modern PSA 10s are a good investment? Because no. I think those are the best flip because liquidity is there. But this question, if I'm understanding it correctly, I think he's asking, do you feel Pokemon TCG graded modern will continue to rise and be more lucrative than vintage period? If I had to hold 100K in PSA 10 alt arts, I think that they will underperform 100K in strategically chosen, wisely chosen WotC hollows. Honestly, I think in the short term, there is more chance that those could rise quicker in a shorter term. Look at Moonbreon, look at the things it's doing. But long term, if I had to park 100K, any fixed number, if I had to park it in ultra modern PSA 10s versus vintage PSA 10s, and I could pick and choose which was which, I would feel more comfortable. Not that I would make more money, but I would lose less. Or I would slightly outpace it, all things considered. Because ultra modern is ultra modern now. Base set was once ultra modern. Neo Destiny was once ultra modern. They stopped being ultra modern, but the first are always the first. That whole debate that people don't like to hear, whatever. It is what it is. Like flip in ultra modern, invest in traditional investments. That's what I do. I flip in everything and I invest in traditional investments and I have a huge inventory. I wouldn't call myself investing in it. Do I have 7 figures worth of inventory? Am I invested that much in Pokemon? Yeah, but that's a product of me selling 7 figures annually. I have over a year worth of inventory at my current sell-through rates, at my current all that. I wouldn't say pizzerias are invested in chicken wings. They have them. If chicken wings go up a bunch, they make some money. If they go down a bunch, they lose. But they're processing, they're selling through chicken wings. And I don't know. I don't know what more to say than I think we covered every angle of it. And I think we're going to miss a handful of questions because we went half an hour on this one. But it was good, though. Like, I think it was a good conversation. And I don't know if any divides were bridged. I don't know if anybody changed any opinions or I think some interesting conversation went on, though.
I think that's where we'll forever disagree on that one.
On what?
On the whole the whole Pokemon long term.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and that's fine. Like it's fine. I think we can agree that a lot of things will go up and a lot of things will go down.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Broadly, will most go up or most go down? That's where we start to disagree more. I think it's a very small, minute amount that will go up in real terms, inflation adjusted. But absolutely, there are things today. By the end of the year, they will 10x. Almost guaranteed. Every year, something is 10xing. Every year, something is dropping 50%. In the boom in 2020, there were things that 20x'd within 2020. There were things that dropped 50%. A lot harder to find them then. I'm sure there were some obscure sale over sale, auction versus buy now, whatever. Like you'd have to really look to find something that dropped 50%. Something dropped 50% in 2020 though. Some things were just flat. Some things never moved. It's a very diverse market.
Yeah, exactly.
Retro says Professor Oak Discord is 65% people complaining about PSA, 30% Squeaks cosplaying Chicken Little, and 5% Mason memes. Shout out to Oak's Discord. It is a great time in there. There's a lot of great people. Let me see if I can get an invite link handy. We might as well end it all with shilling Oak's Discord.
There we go. There we go. Yeah, well, hopefully everyone enjoyed the premiere going into the live. We were able to keep up with chat for the most part, I think.
Until that last half hour.
We didn't have our typical talk about something and then a half hour later read through the chat talking about that topic and then talk about it again.
Yeah. Oh, let me see if I have any other questions I can grab real quick. Do you see any you wanted me to grab?
Well, I can check. I didn't notice anything.
I see a lot of meme questions. Maybe we didn't miss any real questions at all.
Yeah, I didn't notice nothing that stood out, I don't think.
There's a lot of
there's a lot of good stuff in the chat during
there's
that
a lot of there's a lot of great stuff in the chat. Shout out to all the chatters. Shout out to all the PokeFlippers. We appreciate you. So
ZG is live?
2 weeks from now. Oh, are they live? You want to rate them?
I think so. That's what your average player said.
I'll link them in the chat next. Or are they not?
They might have just ended.
Oh no, I think they just started.
Oh.
They've been going for 3.5 minutes. We're gonna raid them.
Oh, there we go. Look at that.
Go join ZNG Emporium and tell them the superior podcast PokeFlipz sent you.
Oh. But yeah, thanks for
yeah, I think we covered everything.
I think so. You're gonna get in trouble soon.
Yeah, I'm running overtime right now. I will say in 2 weeks, not on Thursday at 1. I forget what we settled on. Is it Tuesday night at 9?
I think it's Tuesday night.
So Tuesday night, it should be like 9:15. 9:15 p.m. now. We're going to start doing it at 1:15 so that we can have a premiere beforehand that leads into the live. If you have any questions for Nick or myself, feel free to leave them in the comments below. We'll answer them in 2 weeks on the premiere before we go live. If you have anything for Oak or Greenie, ideally come to the live, hang out, ask them live, and we'll get that addressed. If you can't, though, leave it in the comments, and we'll just ask them at the front end of the live stream so that they can ask that, so they can answer that for you. But other than that, this is season 3 of PokeFlipz. It's been two strong years, I'd say. I'm bullish. I'm bullish on PokeFlipz podcast. 20-year, 50-year time horizon.
That we can agree on.
In real terms, in inflation-adjusted terms, we will have more subscribers in 20 years than we have today. If I'm wrong, at me in 20 years, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I appreciate everyone hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for hanging out, everyone. Do appreciate it. And we will see you in 2 weeks.